You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
We are almost there. T-minus 1 hour until the NHL Trade Deadline. Hello and welcome to Leafs Afternoon Take. Now Leafs Morning Take. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, presented by Bet365, our special Trade Deadline special. What's happening, Rosie?
Weird afternoon show. Yeah, dude, I'm glad something went down before this because I was like, this could be pretty solemn couple of hours here. But lo and behold, they pulled a trigger and there's something to talk about. I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest.
The horniness factor has gone up exponentially in the last 40 minutes. Check out at the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube. What you're doing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Rosie and I got together for a quick reaction piece to Oakville boys Scott Laughton coming home here via the Philadelphia Flyers. Again, we have you covered for the next couple hours. Trade recap, but we'll try our best to chase some of these guys as the Leafs make some deals. I still anticipate at least one more move. We're checking the wire as well. Ryan Reeves placed on waivers, so we'll see if he clears in mere seconds as well. But just your general thoughts on, I guess, a quiet deadline day outside of the big Laughton deal, of course.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think people expected it to be too crazy of a day. We know what we have to offer, and we know what the market's like and what the prices are like out there, what people are paying to get these assets. And I'm pretty happy. I didn't know if True would be able to get a deal over the hump. To get one of the guys that we had our sights on, I think it's pretty important to not give up too much. I mean, that first rounder is pushed back to 2027. And like Grabankin, you mentioned in our quick video, like, what is his ceiling? Like, if he has a great career and turns out he'll be like a Scott Laughton, he was a 5th round pick, and they throw in a 4th and a 6th, is it?
Mm-hmm.
So you could get him back in theory. The 50% retained as well. Like at one point, like you're basically, as far as salary cap, you're swapping Revo almost for Scott Laughton, and that was a gaping hole in your lineup. I think it's a nice piece of business, man. And like he's not a complete rental. He's got next year as well, where you can assess what he's doing then. You could flip him at the deadline if you so needed to and get your what you paid back in theory. Like there's all kinds of different ways to look at this, but at the end of the day, I thought there was gonna be two options. Everyone was gonna think he overpaid or he didn't do anything. And it turns out this is a nice little deal for both sides, I think, in theory. And I'm pretty happy that it went down the way it did. I think a lot of people owe Tree Living an apology.
Maybe in the Super Chat, you can do that. Check out our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids, as you all know. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. Things are going to move quickly over the next hour, specifically, Rosie. Hearing of a potential trade here. Dave Pagnotta on it. A couple of media members in Boston as well. Charlie Coyle for Casey Middlestat. So it's kind of interesting to see the exodus here in Boston. You don't see that, haven't seen that for maybe 10 to 15 years, but they're shipping out talent and kind of an interesting hockey trade there at the core. Colorado, who the Leafs are going to see tomorrow, trading Middlestat for Charlie Coyle.
Yeah, interesting to see Boston unloading. I keep looking at their captain, wondering if he's going to move. He seems to have his roots down there in Boston quite a bit, but it is a weird sight seeing the Boston Bruins be in that position. It just kind of shows you the reign they've had over the last 15 years, or I guess a little bit more. But man, they've been a powerhouse, and it's the first time I feel like looking at them, and they seem a little bit weak,
Yeah, definitely. It's a bizarre time for the Boston Bruins. And again, I think a reset makes a lot of sense for that organization. So the very latest, by the way, on the Leafs front, Ryan Reeves has cleared waivers, which we expected, but that frees up some cap space to maybe maneuver and do a bit more here over the next hour. What do you think they have left to done? What would you try to do if you're Brad True Living?
I mean, everyone's been talking about that depth center and the right-handed D. I think you're going to see, as you start to crunch the numbers and look at the lineup, that there's a lot more options than there were before. There's a bit of a log jam in certain positions, and guys will be fighting for spots, and you'll be able to take your pick of a certain guys. They're not deal breakers. I'm talking like the Holmbergs and the Robertsons and the Domies, and where do these guys slot in? You can talk Lorentz as well, and where Yarny's going to fit. But you go back to the back end, and I think they kind of have the same thing, like a bit of a hole where one name would just kind of slide some things into position on the right-hand side, maybe to play with Morgan Riley. It would slot OEL into a different spot. I think that could fill it up. What that's going to take, I think now you're almost, do you want to get rid of your 2026 first rounder? I think they're trying to hold on to that. And, our two biggest dogs as far as prospects go with Minton and Cowan, I think it would take one of those to be out the door if they were to get something that is worth making a deal over on your back end. So we'll see. But if there's something more to come, I would not be surprised if it was a right-handed defenseman, if it's even possible.
I'm right there with you. How would you grade Toronto's deadline so far? Hit us up in the chat. Even hit us up with a super chat and support us Sick Kids at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. As mentioned, the Leafs are already in Denver, getting set to face the Colorado Avalanche tomorrow night. Brock Nelson, now a member of the Avalanche. Of course, as we just talked about, Charlie Coyle, formerly of the Boston Bruins, traded for Casey Middlestat. So two different looking teams. Of course, we don't know just now if Scott Laughton's going to make his Maple Leafs debut in that game, but looking forward to this one for a variety of reasons. Presented by Fountain Tire. Join us for Flight Night tomorrow night at Greta Bar YYZ's. We host a watch party for this game. As part of Flight Night, one lucky winner and a guest of their choice will win a spot in the first ever TLN Nation vacation to Nashville, happening March 20th to 23rd. All you got to do is head on over to nationgear.ca. That's nationgear.ca to grab your free admission ticket right now. With that, you will automatically be able to play the guessing game we have planned for the chance to win a trip for two to Nashville. Price is right. Rules apply. We'll go more into detail at the event tomorrow. No going over guesses. Tiebreaker. If multiple people have the same guess, the TLN crew will challenge you to some hockey trivia to secure your win. Any extra guesses, by the way, $20 a pop. So looking forward to that, all in support of Sick Kids Foundation. Also, don't forget, if you can't make Flight Night, we still have a few spots remaining on the trip. We're offering two packages, one with flights, $24.50 plus tax, one without, $12.99 plus tax, hotel rooms, double occupancy. For more information on how to book, head on over to nationgear.ca. Life's too short for ordinary vacations. Once again, feverish action over the next hour. We're T-minus 53 minutes away from the deadline here, Rosie. Your thoughts so far?
Again, I was worried that they weren't going to do anything, and it was going to be because the last week or so with, it's kind of been a little bit of a snowball effect. You lose sight of the fact that, Austin Matthews was on 11-game point streak right now, but doesn't really look himself, and people are starting to wonder, like, the heck's going on? Is he going to be good enough? And little question marks are rising. They lose to the Sharks. They get shelled by Vegas. Wool hasn't looked real hot lately, and it looks like Tree's doing nothing. Like the last week has been, a step back in a lot of people's minds, and I think that's fairly apparent by going on Twitter and they're calling for Tree Living to step down. It's like crazy, man. Like relax. Wait until this deadline's over before. If you want to do that, that's fine. But why would you do that midweek? It was blowing my mind. But I was a little bit worried that they weren't going to be able to do anything, or they weren't going to be able to justify the price tags that were floating around the market. You look at the standings as well, and just in my mind all year, we've just been a step or two ahead of the Floridas and the Tampas of the world. And then all at once, it's like you just look at it, it's like we're dead even, and it is anyone's division, and it started to look a little scary. So this is kind of a nice set of news. Does Scott Laughton light the world on fire? Is he in his absolute prime? Is he a needle mover? No, you're not asking him to be, but you've watched enough hockey with this group that's played a lot of good hockey and looks like they're kind of committed to doing things differently than they have in the past. They seem to have shored up some things that people have wanted to see. But there's been a couple of little holes that would be like, man, it'd sure be nice if we could shore this up. And Scott Laughton does that. And that's why I'm excited. It's not that I think this guy's, this deal breaker and needle mover, but he fills a really nice hole. And it almost like gives you like an exhale, like, that's better. Once you look at the set of forwards we have, once you slide his name in there.
Yeah, I honestly think it was a shrewd piece of business. As Mike Batson writes in, $1.5 million cap hit next year for Scott Laughton. How could you not be happy? No Clue writes in, 50% salary retention is huge. Just even reading up the chat a bit, Mike is not a big fan of the trade. Mike Fahmy I'm not happy at
How
all
come
with the
why?
Laughton trade, but I'm glad it was him over Luke Cunnin, excuse me.
Yeah, that Cunnin doesn't do too much for me. Why don't people like it? What do you think? It's just the sake that it's a first rounder? Is that what's going to bother
I
people
think,
or
but
what?
I think people had an unrealistic expectation that the Maple Leafs was going to somehow grab Mikko Rantanen. It's the media's fault. It's our fault for even putting the Maple Leafs in that conversation, especially with these no state tax states. Like he was not going anywhere but Vegas, Florida, or Dallas. Because we'll get into that conversation later on. Rantanen gets a $12 million a year extension for 8 years with the Dallas Stars after another trade here. The Leafs comparable for them would be like 14, I think, 13 and a half. And I don't even know if that would get the job done. So
Yeah, it's funny. Like, what did they offer him that he just did not want to stay in Carolina or what? Like, you telling me
would you?
they couldn't offer him 12? I think they what did they offer him again?
They offered him the best of my knowledge, it was
Oh,
104 over 8 years, around there.
that's
So I think it's
13,
13.25, something like that. Yeah.
and he signs for 12 in Dallas. Just clearly didn't want to stay in Carolina. I'm curious what was bugging him there, man. Like, just didn't. How do you make that deal as Carolina, and just the guy clearly doesn't want to play for you, and just oh god, you'd think you'd have some semblance or some little wink, wink, or a conversation or a hint that the guy, there's a good chance, unless you're going to be an idiot about things, that you can re-sign this player, right? All right, let's pull this trigger. He clearly didn't want to. It's pretty wild, man, that he took less to leave, and everyone was like, "Well, what's this guy gonna want?" Took less to leave. It's quite interesting, that whole Rantanen deal. And yeah, I agree with you. To think that he was going to go to the Leafs, I just if that had transpired and that deal was done right now, what would we be talking about? It would just be such a distraction as far as the Mitch Marner front. Like, you think it was a distraction before talking about his contract? Throw Mikko Rantanen in there. Who do you keep? Who do you not? Who's going to re-sign? Who do you go to first? Is this allegiance? Are they giving up on him? What's Mitch's attitude going to be? Oh my God. I don't think it would have been all that ideal. And keep in mind, you probably would have to unload a Matthew Nyes to make that thing happen. Um, I liked our team before, and there were some question marks coming down the barrel. Fine. I like what they've done. I hope they do more. But I mean, a lot of pieces are still in place, and the team looks whole, and the future looks still quite whole. A lot of options of things to do in the coming years to maybe get picks back or something. But 50% retained as well, and a couple of draft picks as well. I thought that I didn't think you could get that. I didn't think you could get it retained. I thought it would be the deal minus those things, and it would have been a done deal. I think that's just a nice little cherry on the top.
Yeah, I agree. And on Rantanen, like it's so hard to know what happened, what transpired behind the scenes. But I think even like find me the last time bringing in like a bona fide star player at the trade deadline actually worked, right? I think people have been screaming.
Ray
spe-
Bork.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen very often. Like
That
the
was
example I
2001.
like to bring up is the Rangers a couple years ago. They brought in Tarasenko, they brought in Patrick Kane, and it was a quick exit for that team. Like chemistry is a bigger conversation that people want to have. And I think you talk about glue guys, you can speak to this. Talk about Scott Laughton as a teammate, man. You can bring it up here.
Yeah, he's a funny, unassuming dude. He's got a dry sense of humor. Um, he's got lots of different nicknames and stuff, and he's a good dude, man. He's self-deprecating. You can chirp him, and he just like he acts like he's a funny dude, man. He's good to have in the locker room. I'm just thinking about being in the locker room with him, and stuff's coming to mind as I'm speaking. Solid dude. I mean, by all accounts, there's a reason he stuck around Philly for so long. He was a good guy in the room, and he kills penalties well. He's responsible. He's got some grit. We didn't add some pussyfooter Swedish guy that's, might gonna shy away if we end up having to play the Florida Panthers or something. This guy put the hammer down still, and I think he's super excited to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. He's gonna play with some piss and vinegar. Like, this is something he's probably thought about his whole life. And I talked to him personally, and he's like, man, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome to come to Toronto. Like, he's going to be playing hard. He's going to be jazzed up, and he's not 38 years old. He's got some more to give. So checks a lot of boxes, man. It was a good piece of business, and it makes me kind of excited. I don't know. I think I get a little bit guilty of getting too horned up and being excited and being overly optimistic and just thinking of best case scenario. But why the hell wouldn't you be like that? I'm pumped, man. If they didn't do anything, I was gonna say, holy shit, man! Like, how do you expect them to do a whole lot different in the playoffs? But now they've done something, and it looks. I'm excited, man.
Most importantly, he gets away from John Tortorella. That's a win in many books. How about Andrei Kuzmenko goes there for like a handful of games? We're speculating he's going to play with his boy Matvei Michkov. Shows some promise, and now off to the Los Angeles Kings as we continue here on our trade deadline special. 45 minutes to go until the final buzzer here, Rosie. Something to add or what?
No, I'm just ranting and freewheeling and talking as I think. It's interesting. No, I thought I got trade center in the background.
You got horned up there.
Thought something happened there. No, I'm excited to talk to lots. It's interesting to look at the lineup, and it does shuffle some pieces around. And obviously you got to get Pacioretty healthy, and there's some question marks. Like, do they want Patches in the top 6? Where does that put McMahon? Where does Holmberg fit? Where does Robertson fit? Where does Domi fit? Who's higher on their depth chart? It seems like they got a bit of a hard on for Holmberg. Do you like Robertson or Holmberg? Who's going to be better in the playoffs? Domi, we kind of got him to be that depth piece in the playoffs, to play with some snarl and be a bottom 6 guy. Like, is he going to do that? Is this monkey on his back? Is his confidence low? Where does he slot in as a left-handed shot? I think they want him away from center, obviously. So who on the left side does he take, or does he play right? And it's lots of question marks, man, but at least it's fun. It's not thin. You're not just like saying, well, I don't know, I guess we got to try this because we have no other options. It's just one name just kind of changes a lot, and I'm excited to see where they go with it.
It does. And I think if you looked at the checklist of what the Maple Leafs are looking to acquire, number one had to be a top 9 center. And I think they've really achieved that in the form here of Scott Laughton, the Oakville boy, coming back home here in this deal with the Philadelphia Flyers on deadline day. Roll up to win is back at Tim Hortons, and that means you could win millions of amazing prizes with just a swipe of a thumb. Imagine turning your routine Tim's run into an unforgettable vacation with Sell-Off Vacations, a $1,000 racket and cash prize, or an all-new, all-electric 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz. You only have until March 23rd. So open up that Tim's app and get rolling. Play Roll Up to Win today. Rules apply. Canada only. No purchase necessary. Visit the Tim's app for details. Let's keep the conversation going at the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button and support us Sick Kids as well via Super Chat if you would like, as you bring in the one and only Zack Phillips from the Leafs Nation After Dark. How are we feeling, Phillips?
I'm feeling good. I'm not going to lie to you. I was feeling a little bit dark, gloomy. I was ready to call it quits.
I still can't get over the conversation we had 2 days ago where this guy went full scorched earth and shat on my boy Thomas Mechanics, by the way. Fuck you.
He wanted change. You wanted them to do something. What do you think, man? I mean, you were a big advocate for it doesn't matter if it costs money. Look at the other people that spend picks and prospects in order to get better now. And I don't even think that anyone could really argue they gave up too darn much. I mean, you look at what the market was selling for. You must be happy to get a guy and still have a bunch of, the main pieces that we were talking about on the shelf.
Look, my honest opinion was when I saw that Brock Nelson deal go down, I pretty much started to shit my pants that any type of Leafs deal that was going to happen was going to be like paying out the ass, multiple kids out the door, like top prospect. I think that was probably a realistic reaction after seeing some of those deals where it was just like, hey man, everything's expensive right now. Like you're going to have to pay a lot, which started to make me feel like this Laughton deal, a Schenn deal could get nuts. To see like the details of what went on here, 50% retained, $1.5 million on Scott Laughton, a guy who was like top of our list here as well. And yeah, first round pick, but it's 2027. It's conditional. You're also getting picks back in this. Like, I think this is good, clean work by Brad Treliving to bring in Scott Laughton for not only this playoff run, but for another season here as well. Like, this is a good job by Brad Treliving, in my opinion.
Don't you think the retained money and the 2 picks coming back are kind of like, and that? Like, I feel like,
yeah,
I'm surprised that they weren't like, no, the deal is what it is. And he's like, retain 50 and throw in a 4th and a 6th. And he'd be like, no, dude, like this, it's like a cherry on top. I didn't expect that. Like I read it, I saw it. Okay. And then the retain and a couple picks back. Grabenkin is a 5th rounder himself. You don't know what those, if they're the scratch off tickets, some people are calling it. Fine. I don't mind having a scratch off ticket in my bloody hand. You don't know what that guy's going to become a 4th. It's just more ammo to get things rolling. It's kind of impressive that, he got this deal done for what he did, and a couple of kickers too that I feel mean something.
I just wonder what else they have up their sleeve. I think that's only natural. I think the intrigue for me is that it was a 2027 first round or not a 2026. And there's been a lot made about that draft, by the way. Maybe they just want to hold on to their pick. But I think the other win, as you just talked about, it was Grabenkin. I mean, the ceiling for Grabenkin, probably Laughton. And I think the fact that you can make this deal work and not give up Cowan, Minton, or Danford for that matter, Zach, I think is a huge win as well.
100%. I mean, the thing was, and like, shout out to Pagnotta. This guy's having an absolute day here. He's dialed in. Yeah, he's dialed in. He goes and tweets like Scott Laughton's going to the Maple Leafs. I don't know what you guys thought. My first reaction was, we're going to find out it's one of the 3 kids, just which one. And to find out it was Nikita Grabenkin, I mean, that's a win on its own there, because as you said, like the ceiling on it, I don't think is as high as the other guys. And look, like, I'm going to say something that here is probably going to piss off some Leafs fans. I get it. I've been having this argument and fight over the last little while. You're trying to win right now. Like, Nikita Grabenkin is not helping you win this season. Is he helping you win next season? Probably not either. And like, I saw Peter Lou in there. Oh, this guy probably hasn't been watching the Leafs very long if he thinks this is a good deal and they don't win the Stanley Cup. The point is here, it doesn't matter if you win the cup this year if you've got Scott Laughton, because he's here next year as well. And then, I don't know, you guys know him better than I do, and maybe you could speak to it a little bit better. I watched the video he put out earlier today. He's excited to be here, Rosie is saying, but like, maybe he resigns, and then that window with Scott Laughton is extended even further. Like, it doesn't feel like you just gave away everything to try to get this guy in a year that Florida and Tampa did get better, and maybe they put themselves on even par with you. Maybe they put themselves better. Like, I don't know. A lot of things have to bounce your way, but it doesn't feel like we just like took a big swing, and if it doesn't work out this season, we're fucked. Like, it just doesn't feel like that with this trade.
Yeah, and like it seems like there should be this little bit of a downside that's kind of obvious. Like, say he was just a rental, it'd be like, yeah, it's good, but it's just a rental. But there's just all the little downsides that it could be. It's not. It's retained at, like, you're swapping Revo's cap hit for the guy that we wanted. It's fucking peanuts. We got him for next year too, and you can decide what to do with that and how that looks. It's just, there's no big downside. I kind of expected a deal to come and for there to be a little bit of a bite to it and a little bit of a cost and a little bit of a wishy-washy feeling to it. And there's just not. Like, if anyone doesn't think Tree Living should have made this move, I question whether you're just a naysayer, a negative person, or you can't, if you even like the Leafs, you know what I mean? Like, how do you talk down about this? It made complete sense. And there's a bunch of positives. And like I said, not a hell of a lot of negative.
Still 37 minutes to go. Got to add that here when it comes to the trade deadline. And support of Sick Kids, our very favorite. Tammy writes in via this super chat in support of Sick Kids once again. I'm not mad at the Laughton pickup. Not a bad return either. Just sad we couldn't get Rantanen, and Leafs couldn't make a big splash like other teams. Back to work I go. Cheers, Leafs Nation. Your reaction to Tammy's remarks there, Rosie?
Tammy. Yeah, she wanted more. Hey, I don't know. Like, I mean, everyone likes the splashy name, but we didn't really need another winger. We would have still been weak at depth center throughout the lineup. It would have kind of screwed stuff up. And like I mentioned to Nick before you got on, Zach, like, if they had just gotten Rantanen, like, it would have been cool. I'd have been excited. And what does this mean? It would have been lots to talk about. But I really think it would have been like a distraction, and you're kind of just wedging him in there because you can. And what does that mean for Marner? And like, I just, I'm not crying the blues that they didn't get Rantanen. I didn't have my hopes set on it. If they pulled the trigger and Tree thought it was good, I'd jump on board and say, holy shit, here we go. This is interesting and exciting and crazy and wild. But I think this makes like a little bit more sense, especially when we're not even talking about, well, what would we have had to give up to get Rantanen? It would have been stung, man. So I'm happy with what they did.
I also just was thinking about it. I'm like, you're gonna have to give up Nyes here probably because you're gonna have to do a sign and trade with Rantanen, right? And like, look at Logan Stankoven. That's the piece that goes from Dallas here to Carolina. It's not like apples to apples, but it's probably
Close
like
enough.
your Leafs
Yeah.
equivalent here of
Yeah.
Matthew Nyes. That's what it
Who,
would go
sorry?
back. Logan Stankoven.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the piece that goes. And like, yeah, it does help you. And Mikko Rantanen is a superstar. And I would love to have that piece here. There was one thing that got me real fired up today, and it was Bob McKenzie going on the trade center and being like, there's some like you might favor Toronto in the open market. I'm like, oh, here we go. Forget it at the deadline. Let's just go status quo. Mikko Rantanen and a Maple Leaf in the summer. Like, it would have been a cool name. It doesn't really address the needs for right now. And also, by the way, I mean, this is the other tough part of the conversation. For the most part, the guy plays a lot of right wing. I know he's a left-handed shot, but he plays a lot of right wing. Can play the left wing, like he can figure it out. But like, so if he plays the right wing, and there's expiring free agents at the end of the summer, there's a certain spot that he might end up fitting in Toronto, if you get what I'm saying with all of this. So I don't know. It's like it's too bad. It would have been cool. It would have been flashy, but not necessary.
I didn't buy it. I mean, let's not forget agents do use media members if you do believe it. It happens quite frequently. And I think you're going to hear every name linked to the Maple Leafs from now until July 1. Sam
Blue
Bennett.
Jays special.
Yeah, it's going to be the Blue Jays special. Aaron Ekblad's going to be on that list too. I've heard him linked to Toronto for like 5 years. Every big name free agent will be linked to the Leafs because agents are not stupid. Who's going to have a shit ton of cap space on July 1? The Leafs, Marner, Tavares, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's understandably so. But yeah, I had to laugh at that too. Again, full circle on the conversation. I just had a feeling if Rantanen was going to get moved, it was going to go to Vegas, Florida, Dallas. He ends up in Dallas. I like the composition of that team. I think the Canes did a pretty decent job of recouping the assets, but what a shit show that is because you move out Natchez, you move out Rantanen. Stankoven's a good player, but still hasn't really hit his ceiling, not even where close. And I think they're a worse team than they were 24 hours ago when they beat the Boston Bruins. So again, there's still time to go. We're approaching the half-hour mark until deadline time at 3 p.m. Eastern time, but around the division, guys, I think there's some intrigue for me as well as we start to look at potential first-round opponents, Rosie. The Ottawa Senators made a really interesting move for me. I don't know what the hell they're doing in Buffalo, but I really liked the Dylan Cousins pickup. And I'm curious to get your thoughts as a former player, because I'm sure you saw Brady Tkachuk talk to the media. The guy was fucking bawling. Like he was crying because Josh Norris got traded. Like this is a business, guys. And already we're starting the conversation south of the border. Are they driving Brady Tkachuk out of town in Ottawa? What'd you make of the move of Cousins being picked up there?
I think it's weird to cry about a guy. Like you got to keep
like
your
tearing up, dude.
professional, and
Yeah.
you know that new guy's coming in, and you got to act like that's where your mentality lies right now. But that's kind of different. He's a passionate guy. I love Brady Tkachuk. Absolutely love Brady Tkachuk, and I would build a team around him in a heartbeat. But yeah, like. Oh, what happened? Like, was I just absent for a while in these standings? Like, are you fucking kidding me with Toronto, Florida, Tampa? Like, just identicals across the board. And and you mentioned though, their future lies in their own hands with the amount of times. I think there's like 8 points up for grabs for the Leafs to play these teams. And I mean, if you can get 6, 7 of those, that should give you the division, you would think. But then you look down at the wild card, like, oh my God, how far do you got to scroll down until there's some separation? I mean, Columbus, Ottawa, New York, Detroit, Montreal could get into the mix. It's pretty interesting. Keep going out of Boston. Like, it's tight. So I really want to win the division and play one of those teams. I think if you're going to have to play one of those Florida teams, I understand, to get out of the division and get to the East and all that shit. I get it, but you don't want to face them right out of the bat. You don't want, it's the same feeling that we've had for like the last several years. Like, oh God, Like these guys, and it's just this daunting task right in front of you when it's the big scary playoffs that everyone has these ugly feelings about. I'd way rather go play in like a Columbus first round, let those other teams beat the shit out of each other, get some confidence, obviously win that round, and then have some steam going in. Like hopefully the Berube effect is as apparent as ever after something like that. And Domi's rocking and gets what it looks like. And Lots is slotting in well, going, I fucking knew I'd love being a Maple Leaf. And the big boys are firing, and Austin scored a couple big ones, and Willie's doing Willie stuff, which is why we re-signed him. And fuck yeah, bring on the goddamn Tampa Bay Lightning. Like, have some juju going on. I really think it's important to win that fucking division, get a wild card under your belt, get to the second round for the second time in a long goddamn time, and then you can take on one of those big boys. I would much prefer that than, all right, here we go again, facing Florida in the first fucking round. Like, thanks a lot, man. After all the work they've done, it's crazy to me that things are that tight. But another reason why I'm glad they've kind of shored up some of their deficiencies in a small but meaningful way.
Also, I would throw into, like, on that point by Rosie, I mean, this is partly producer Vic's fault. He basically, him and I were going back and forth, and we're just like making each other more and more doom and gloom than we probably should have been. But like, it is a good point that the difference between 1 to 3 is not that far either. So yeah, maybe you slip out of the first, which you'd prefer to have, and then you take on like a, I mean, I'm not trying to like say it's an easy path, but you take on a lesser opponent there, right? Really, right? Well, if you slide a little bit, you could be caught by not only Florida, but then Tampa. And then round 1, you're playing one of the Floridas and you're doing it on the road. Like, this is really, really important to be dialed in here down the stretch and start to get as many points as possible every single time, like, that you go up against any opponent. Like, it doesn't matter. Find a way, walk away with the point here, because it does matter. Staying up there matters. The home ice is going to matter. And it's not just round 1. It's as it goes on. Like, every round that you play, less travel, being on home ice, being in front of your fans, it's going to matter more and more as it goes on. So yeah, it is important. I mean, Nick, I want to ask you and throw it back on you, because we've talked about a few times, you and I, and when we did the video the other day talking about Matthew's comments, and I do agree with your point, but it's kind of being the sentiment that, it's on the big boys. They're the ones who've got to do this. But part of why I was so fired up when we did that video, and part of why I still look at this and feel like you shouldn't be done, is, well, Colorado's adding. They added Charlie Coyle. Like, they continue to go out and add players, add goaltenders. Like, they're bolstering their roster. Florida, Tampa, the other teams around you, they have superstar players too, but they're continuing to add. I mean, Nick, like, are you looking at this team right now and saying, yep, I'm good adding Scott Laughton, like this, that's enough for us? Do you think that they should or will add in the next 28 minutes, I guess, before the deadline here?
I think they're going to add a defenseman. That's just my thoughts. I haven't heard anything directly. Part of my brain's like, I wonder how they view this team long term, or even into the summer when they're going to have a shit ton of cap space. I know you want to focus on the right now and you're trying to win a Stanley Cup, but like reimagining this roster. And on top of that, like, I understand what you're asking me, but I also looked at this market. It was a seller's market. Who was out there? Like, who is a pendulum swinger? Like, people were actually pissed they didn't give up multiple first-round picks to get Yanni Gord and Oliver Bjorkstrand, the analytics darling. Remember when Bjorkstrand went to fucking Seattle? We had people celebrating. This guy's an analytics stud, and he's going to be, like, amazing for them. No, he sucks. He's a fringe guy. These are fringe guys that we're bitching and complaining about. So it's like a catch-22 where you want the product, but you don't want to pay the price. So, like, that's the way I viewed it. If it wasn't going to be a Shen or a Laughton, that's a Braden Shen or a Scott Laughton to address the actual needs of this team all season long, then I'm okay to steer clear, because maybe I'm in the minority. I'm under the belief with this goaltending and with this back end and the core 4, if these guys can play up to expectation, this team can win a Stanley Cup, not just a series, but a Stanley Cup. So I don't care who the fuck they add in the next 28 minutes, Rosie.
Yeah, Nick!
Yeah.
Listen to this guy. Woo! Yeah. Going through walls, baby. The positivity out of this guy. Goodness gracious. I love it. Yeah, dude. I mean, you know what your core looks like for a while. You're going to shovel these. Fuck, you're going to get beat up in Nashville wearing that kind of shit. The core 4.
You're not a big fan of the cowboy hat, eh? You hate that.
You're because I have real cowboys in my family and real rodeo guys
Oh
I hang
shit!
out with,
It's
and
a
some
it's a it's
dickhead
a
from
knockoff
Toronto.
hat. I'll
Leave
be
it on.
honest. I talked to my boy,
The
and
one
I,
I've
I
got is
it was a
You're
$20
excited for the
hat.
nation vacation. I like it. No Shenner in the vacation. What was I saying?
Yeah. What were we talking about now?
I
I don't know.
don't even know.
Help
I'll
us
come.
out in the chat. What the hell were we talking? No, I was fired up about like the big boys and having to
Yeah,
step
yeah.
up large. Yeah.
You've got the core four for the foreseeable future.
Mhm.
That's your team. That's how you've built it. You're gonna swing pieces around them, which are going to be important, absolutely. But we've seen the movies before where okay, you just didn't have this and you didn't have that, and you didn't have a goalie, you didn't have a stud D. Okay, well, you got the Tanevs and you got the Stolarses, and we've now got the Laughtons, and McMahon is doing what you could ask for. You got these good contracts. Matthew Nyes is this fucking stud. If you got rid of him, you would be desperate to get another one, and it's almost impossible to find guys like that. And certain contracts are looking really good. Not all of them. I mean, I get Camps and Domies doesn't look amazing, but this is what it's going to be like. It's not like you're going to sit here and wait for in 2 years we're going to be perfectly set up and that's the time we're really going to make a run. It's going to be this kind of shit all the time, and you got to go make a run with these big boys, and now is as good a time as ever. I mean, the goaltending stats were up there, and it's Hellebuck and then it's Stolars, and that's a big sample size. He's played enough in here, like he is unflappable, it seems like. Hey, there's your guy. Tanev is what we thought. And, we had Luke Fox on yesterday, and he mentioned, which I appreciated, like, it's not just that he's eating pucks and he's killing penalties, like those little first passes, those exits out of your zone, those little wall plays, those little maneuvers. He's so goddamn good at it. I don't think he gets enough credit for it. You got guys like that. OEL's playing well. I mean, Riley needs to play it and dig deep to find some of his best that he's played in the past. And then you got fucking, like, honestly, if Matthews, Marner, and Willie get hot, and JT's been reliable, he's playing as good as he has in his whole career, a point a game guy. Like, there's lots of reasons that this could go very, very well. Nobody knows what that is. I'm not making a prediction. I'm not saying, but there's lots of reasons to believe that, fuck, man, if things go well, they could make an absolute run. You've got to get by one of those goddamn teams in your division, and then it's off to the races. You never know. Like, the Capitals could shit their pants in the playoffs for some reason. They've been playing kind of wonky hockey by just feeding Ovi and playing him 26 minutes a night, and he hardly skates, and it's been the whole thing with them. Like, weirder things have happened, and they lay an egg in the, like, anything could happen, man. You're not. I agree with Zach. You don't sit around and, well, next year's we're better suited to, like, fuck that. Let's go. Let's try to make yourself better if you can, if it makes sense, and let's rock and roll and get on the
Wow.
There we
train
go.
of
Innocent
positivity
here. Okay. At the
Brad,
Leafs
get on
Nation
the phone. You
401.
got 23 minutes left. Let's
Yeah,
go.
exactly. Do something. Somebody make a trade at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Felix Botfan, great handle. Brad Tree Dubas. So a lot of people think Brad Tree Living is Kyle Dubas. Again, gets back to my point. Who the hell do you want? I always laugh when teams sign their own to extensions. I guess Wyatt Johnston, who's been on fire for Dallas, 5-year extension, $8.4 million. And again, it just brings back PTSD to the Marner contract and the Matthews contracts and Nylander. And it's like, you see the value and you're like, oh, but I guess, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I think this is the most important season to date for this nucleus, where it's like, okay, this is not working out. You've got to pivot, Zach. Like, you can't keep going back to the well of the Marners, the Nylanders. Is like, I don't know how you feel about this, because it really
Yes,
hasn't
you
been
do.
talked about a lot. It's a contract year for Mitch Marner.
I mean, where are we going on this one? This could take a turn here quickly. And look, it's funny you bring that up. The Wyatt Johnson deal, right? It gets put out there, 8.4 by 5. I get a text from my buddy the second that one goes down, and he says, Wyatt Johnson, 8.4 by 5. Marner's 10.6 is one of the worst contracts ever given out. That's the text that I got. I look, I feel like there was a lot of waiting by the Wyatt Johnson camp and Dallas at the same time here, because it sounded like the initial ask was something around 8 by 8 or like something in that range, or Dallas was looking for like 8 years. He wanted 8, whatever. To get to the point here where they make this deal, obviously they're probably waiting on Rantanen. there's a lot of pieces to this that I kind of start to wonder about. Now, it was pretty known Rantanen wanted like upwards of 13 mil, right? Like that's out there. He wanted even close to 14. Colorado wasn't going to do it. Carolina wasn't going to do it. The initial ask at Dallas was 13 plus, and they wouldn't do it. Mikko Rantanen has to settle for 12. So I wonder if there's a realization from Marner's camp, Marner himself, Tree Living, like all these guys watching that deal go down with Mikko Rantanen, who was right there on par with Mitch Marner. I know he's in Dallas, but where they just say, that number you asked for, you're not getting it, dude. Because within the matter of like 3 hours, Mikko Rantanen went from 13 mil a year to 12 and said, yeah, okay, fine, I'll do it. And I'm going to be a Dallas Star and I'm going to sign this extension. Like, I don't know if Mitch is coming here and asking for 14 mil, honestly, at that point, he can fucking kick rocks and go test the open market for all I care, because I don't think it's worthwhile. I mean, you look around at other players around the league, they're going to sign deals that are going to be less than that. I know the cap's going up, but I mean, I would have signed Mikko Rantanen for $13 million in a heartbeat here in Toronto, and Dallas said no, and he took 12. Like, I just don't understand how he could walk into that front office with a straight face and reasonably tell them that he deserves more than what Mikko Rantanen got by $2 million AAV. Let's put it that
It's
way.
a tax thing though, Zach.
I
Like,
know, but
yeah.
it's also percentage of the cap. Like, I get
Yeah.
it, but like my pushback would be, do you want to win or do you not want to win? Because the elite teams around the league just told Mikko Rantanen no. Colorado, Carolina, Dallas. I don't give a fuck about the state tax anymore. You can take more than $12 million. I'm okay with that. I will do that. But it's a percentage of the cap. Do you want to win? Do you want to be here? Do you want to be on an elite team? And oh, by the way, do you want to try to repair the reputation that you dragged through the mud on your last contract negotiation? Do you want to work on that or no? Because if you're going to fight for every single penny you can get, you can find it somewhere else. It's not going to be here in Toronto.
Chicago,
Sure.
Rosie. How do you like that fit, Rosie?
Go for it. I don't know what's his replacement. Like Rantanen would be. It's a pretty nice comparable little replacement, except the one guy's got 108 points in 80 playoff games. I know you're playing with McKinnon and stuff, but say you let Marner walk. Where do you use that? Call it 12 or 13 million dollars coming down the barrel here on say July 1st. Like, are there some comparables and some replacements that you have in mind?
How about Bennett and Ekblad combo?
Spicy. Yeah, man. Just more playoff warrior style.
More Panthers.
More Panther style. Fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
How'd they get so good, man? Like, and then to be coached by I can't even believe he was here. It's just, they are the template, man. The way they play, and the more guys you get that play wild. Like, I look at Domi, and when you, maybe it's a bit of bias because his last name's Domi, but it's not like I jerk off to Ty Domi thinking that he's just this fucking needle
I thought you
mover.
did. So,
But it's like, what doesn't Domi have that snarl? Isn't he supposed to be a pit bull bulldog? Like, people in the chat I saw are calling him softer than baby shit, and
it's good chirp.
I would like him to go out like an absolute bulldog, piss and vinegar, throwing it around. And if you happen to walk on a puck or see a lane and you thread it and you get on the score sheet, absolutely fantastic. That's also why we have you signed to a contract. But this playoffs, I would like guys, especially like Domi, to adopt a bit more of a Florida Panthers style mentality. Like, let's go to fucking war, boys. I don't care what they throw it at us. We're just going to double down and play that style of hockey and throw it right back in their face, put them on their heels, believe in ourselves, believe that we're better, believe that we can outmatch them no matter what style of hockey we play. If guys don't adopt that mentality, it's why they get stuck in the games they are when the clock's ticking down and they're down by one and they just don't have anything to change the course of the game. I don't want to see that shit anymore. I want to see guys like that adopt that mentality. And now that you throw Laughton in the mix, it kind of starts to shove some names all around. And if it stays like this and we got 16 minutes left, there's going to be some competition on, well, who's coming down the barrel? You know that the last few games of the season are going to be a war. You're going to be trying to win the division. It's not going to be fuck around time. Let's see if Austin Matthews can get to magic number 70 and piss around like that. No, you're going to be looking for every goddamn point you can get to win that division. And I think that's going to breed some competition on who the hell's ready to go. You're going to be interviewing Chief, and he's going to say, I'm playing whoever's ready to fucking go to war, whoever looks like they're ready for the playoffs, whoever's showing that they're willing to do whatever it takes. And it's going to be more exciting that way. And it's funny how one little deal can kind of set the table for that.
In support of Sick Kids, Maxentius Decimus, thank you so much for the super chat. Taxes sure, commercial sponsorship in TO exists too. That's a valid point. Shout out to Canadian Tire. They don't even sponsor us, but we all remember the Steven Stamkos situation a couple of years ago at the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. 15 minutes away from the deadline. By the way, as an aside, notes from practice, all accounted for on the ice for practice in Denver. The opponent tomorrow night should be a good one as well. Looking forward to flight night, but Brock Nelson in the mix now, Charlie Coyle in the mix. Scott Laughton could potentially make his debut for the Maple Leafs. So lots of reasons to watch that game tomorrow night, Zach.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I'm gonna be very interested to see also Colorado's makeup and how they're gonna go into that one and slot everybody just all the way around. It'll be pretty interesting. I don't know. I want to see also here. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like Laughton plays wing right now in Philly, does he not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to.
I was laughing. I was laughing when they make this deal. How long before Scott Laughton's on line 2 as a winger with JT and Nylander? Because you know what's happening.
Oh,
dude,
man.
I know.
Domi's rocking. Fuck, I don't think so, boys. That really? Where did that come from?
Well, your boy the Pontiac is going to be on second line left wing.
Pontus?
Otherwise, hello Pontus. Like, that's what you're looking at.
It's funny how like before lots, Patches goes down, and all of a sudden like the thinness is Holmberg's just a staple in the top 6 with like Tavares and Nylander. Like what? Are we serious here, boys? Like I'm thinking he might be one of the guys that gets scratched if you're shoving Laughton in there once Patches gets healthy. Like that's fucking weird, man. They seem to really like him, right? Like they seem to have him on a pedestal that's a little higher than I think I would maybe slot him. I'm reading the chat for the first time. I see what a super chat looks like, and I'm getting
there. You go. You want to read this super chat and support of Sick Kids? Why don't you read this super chat? Willie on crack. Go ahead, Rosie.
Thanks, Willie on Crack, for your super chat. We really appreciate that. In support of Sick Kids, it's a great cause, you guys. Willie on Crack says, you guys think the Leafs will get one more player? Great question, Willie on Crack. Take it away, Zach. What do you think they're going to do? Time's ticking.
Bravo.
That
was well done, Rosie.
Rosie can read. Somebody wrote in. Yes, he can. Can confirm.
Oh, and you can read on me.
It's hard, man. It's hard to read off a screen, man.
One more player. I don't know. Time's ticking, dude. 13 minutes. Like
I think they add a D here, boys.
You do, eh? Yeah. This is awesome.
But it can't be anything.
Come on, Duffy. Throw up the maple leaf. Come on.
Like depth.
What do you guys? Who do you guys think's around? Like, it's not going to be a Ristolainen or something. Like,
no.
You think it's just going to be kind of a filler guy? Like, what do you think you need? Someone better than Timmins or Myers? And you're
maybe
giving
up Mario Ferraro.
He's a lefty though. He plays lefty.
Yeah, I know. There's not many right-handed guys. Like I was thinking about Brandon Carlo, but it would cost too much.
Since the beginning of time,
so break this
right-handed
down,
defenseman.
Right? Vic, do you have the D board up? Do you have the?
We
D
have no
board
boards on this pot. You kidding me?
Vic's styled, man. Vic's a
he's
bang. There you go. See?
Okay,
so look at that right side right now. Tanev comes back. Obviously, that changes things. So you bump everybody down. That's one change though. This is my problem. This is why I asked Vic to put the board up. Who the fuck plays with Morgan Rielly as your second pair there? That's the concern for me. Like I was horny for Luke Schenn this morning. I was pretty pissed when he got traded to Winnipeg. And part of the reason is like he's going to go to Winnipeg and he's going to be a third pair deep. And that's fine. That makes sense. That's what they need. Toronto, the reason he's not a third pair D is just because like the combination of him and Rielly makes that second pair, right? Like that's what makes it better. It elevates Riley, it elevates Shen. They play well together. They can eat some of those minutes. It's going to be Tanev and McCabe who are eating the majority of your minutes in the playoffs anyways. Then you go to OEL, he's down to your third pair, and the need to push for somebody else going into the 5-6 alongside OEL is diminished. Like you can go Timmins, Myers, Benoit, figure it out. It's a little bit different here now looking around at some of these defensemen like Mario Ferraro. He makes sense if OEL has to play with Riley, but like
It sucks that
I'm
OEL
not
and
a
Riley
fan.
stuck together. Like, wouldn't it be
That's the
nice if
problem, right?
they were good together? They fucking suck together. Why does like it's kind of annoying that Riley needs he's like why do you need why are you so hard to find a partner for, man? You're supposed to make like how does Oliver Ekman
Dude.
Larson not do well with Morgan Riley? Like you guys can't figure it out. Like it's like if he doesn't have the right combination, he's shit. And he needs a special guy to play with. Like, fuck, it makes it annoying, man. It would be sweet if they were good together. It would solve a lot of problems. If you added a guy, it would just bolster the shit out of it. But yeah, man, how much time left here? 10 minutes.
We got 10 minutes. Just reading on Twitter again. The Leafs are practicing right now. Mark Masters saying Tree Living media availability pushed back to approximately 4 Eastern time. Leafs currently on the ice for practice at the University of Denver. They got their full line assortment. I think Connor Dewar's on the outside looking in at lines right now, but Robertson's there. Everybody's there. Lorentz. So
Interesting. I mean,
yeah.
you know what the NHL should do? Hear me out. This is actually like players and trades aside. You want to make a spectacle of the day. No games, and you just have trade deadline ends at like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody's dialed into their TVs all day. Like it just stretches out, just sheer chaos until 7 p.m. I guess. That's what I
That'd
would
be
prefer.
amazing. And speaking of which, the Vegas Golden Knights, the biggest trolls, tweeting out hi 2 minutes ago. You know, I guarantee, guys, there's a trade coming that's
Aaron
coming out of
Ekblad.
nowhere. Somebody, Brock Besser. I think
Yeah,
something's going to happen where we're going to be like, "Are you kidding me?" And
yeah.
I think St. Louis, we're still waiting to hear from them to a degree. Vegas, the Maple Leafs, the Vancouver Canucks. Like I just that's what I'm forecasting here in the last 9 minutes. There's going to be something that happens where you're like, what the hell? Boston, as producer Vic brings up as well. Maybe
Mhm.
Brad Marchand could be on the move. They've been very, very active. Have the Bruins. Charlie Coyle's gone. They've been making a
Brazeau.
couple of minor. Yeah, Brazeau goes to Minnesota last night. Maybe it's Marchand to Vegas, man. Like get him out of the division. I'd be happy, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Bob McKenzie said that they wanted
Yeah, I
Schenner to
saw
come.
that report too. I didn't see it live, but there was somebody, and you always got to be careful on social media, but somebody was saying that Bob McKenzie said that the Leafs wanted Braden Shen and he wasn't willing to waive his no trade clause to go to Toronto, which I'm not sure if I buy.
I'm not sure either. I'm just gonna say it. I mean, look, I didn't see it live, so I don't know for sure. You
Yeah.
got to take things with a grain of salt when it comes from the account that it did. The guy's just a massive, massive Habs fan, and he's a bit of
Okay.
a wanker with any reports that come out about the Leafs. So
Okay.
I don't know what the context was. I don't know how it was said. I don't know for sure. So I mean, I could just be being a dick right now, but I'm
Maybe.
just throwing
Yeah.
that out there. I know what account it came from. I saw it. So.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, I don't see him not doing that and then waving it for Winnipeg. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
know, but I'm gonna dig into that a little bit more.
Oh, wow. He's going to dig in. He's going to text Braden Shen and find out more information. But yeah, I don't know. I just think there's so many moving
Braden,
parts
Rosie, not
behind the
Luke.
scenes. Pardon me. Yeah.
I think Rosie thought it was Luke Shen.
Oh, for Braden, Rosie. It was for
Yeah,
Braden.
Sorry,
Text the right Shen, okay?
I was thinking Luke. I was thinking Luke. I'm like, how does he
Had a
not
feeling.
wave? What are you talking about?
Dude, Luke Shen we have not heard from the guy since he was unceremoniously dealt from Nashville to Pittsburgh. Like, do we got to send a wellness check after this guy? And now he ends up in Winnipeg. I know he's a Sasky boy, but fuck me.
He's punching holes in his wall right now.
Oh man.
Yeah, but Shenner, like, I don't know him well, obviously, but he just sparks me as a guy who is like pumped to be able to be in the chase, in the fight.
Yeah.
You're going to the best team in the NHL right now, Rosie.
There's two sides of it, man. There's your personal life and your professional life. Like professionally, I mean, I think Winnipeg is deadly. They have been clipping along all year long. Their first line is ridiculous.
Mhm.
There's a couple of maybe like one question mark over like their they're past in the playoffs and Hellebuck in the playoffs. Okay, maybe, but they are a wagon and they have just gotten better at the deadline. And Luke can go and jump on that train and ride it and see what happens. Like another cup. Are you kidding me? Like it would be insane. Personally, though, I know he's kind of set up down in Nashville. His kids are playing hockey. He's coaching it with a bunch of guys on his team and some ex-players, and it's a sweet little gig. And we're going to go to Nashville on the nation vacation. There's a reason we're going to Nashville. That town, that state, the weather, the mentality, the people, the cost of living, everything is fucking awesome there. And he probably thought he was going to retire there. You think back to the summertime when they were making moves, my God, it looked like they were going to win as well. It's gone the other way. So I'm sure he's excited to be part of the, a team that has a very good chance of winning a Stanley Cup and on a very exciting run in a town that's really excited to have him and to have a good team. But as far as like his personal future on you uprooting your family, are they finishing school? Do they just stay down there, which is what I think they'll likely do? But you still got years left on your contract and you're there. Are they moving to Winnipeg? And like, it's just all that shit becomes very daunting. So there's a big difference between professional happiness and personal happiness, I think.
5 minutes to go here until the final buzzer. Again, if you're new to this whole exchange, there could be moves that trickle in because they got to be registered to Central Registry following 3 Eastern time. So we'll have you covered here at Leafs Afternoon Take at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got another super chat in support of Sick Kids, and there's a recommendation that you read the super chat, Rosie. Do you have the chat open right now?
Oh, I will. I'm about to. It's catching up. Super chat up there. Tammy, you crazy woman, you. Super concerned that the Leafs still don't have a number 1 D-man because Riley ain't it. Also, Rose Dozer, baby, should read super chats indefinitely. Sorry, Nikki Bobby, you little twerp. That away, Tammy. Thank you for the super chat in support of Sick Kids.
How do you know Tammy's a chick, though? We have no confirmation. Tammy's a girl.
Oh, she's a chick, all right. I can tell.
You think so?
Pheromones are in the air.
Had that feeling? Yeah.
I got a buzz going. I got
vibes. You have a bit of a buzz going?
Tammy vibes.
You have a bit of a buzz going today or what?
No, I'm just buzzed up on Tammy. Throwing up super chat.
Buzzed up on Kids. No
this
Friday
cocktails.
Buzzed up on life.
I normally don't follow it, and I saw people are like, clearly Rosie doesn't give a fuck about the chat or something.
Yeah, they talk shit about you, dude. They don't all love us.
It's hard to follow, and there's lots going on. These people are pretty
Now you understand why it's so hard for me to fucking read these things in live time, man. Like the spelling mistakes, the grammatical errors.
Tammy is a dime piece. I can't help but think the same.
We got to get Tammy out, man. I know I want to start a GoFundMe to get Phillips to Nashville. We might reverse that. Start a GoFundMe to get Tammy to Nashville. Is that okay, Zach?
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, Mario Kart's a big fan of you, by the way. Called you a pigeon. That's the guy who called you a pigeon a couple weeks ago. Mario Kart. See him?
Is it? Some people are mad that I think Domi can play heavy. You are a pigeon. Oh, same Mario Kart guy. I've been called the pigeon before. Cliff Fletcher, Tammy Rosehill has a beautiful ring to it.
Oh,
I don't know what I think about this Tammy person encroaching on my life. I love it. I'm a new chat supporter. Maybe I can handle multitasking, boys.
Welcome to the chat at the Leafs Nation 401. I think you got to hit that like and subscribe button for Jay Rosehill. Just the presentation he's put forth here on deadline day.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna just long term be the super chat reader. Like we just have to get you to that level. I think you've nailed it.
It's kind of fun. I mean, you
get those super chats in. We want more so Rosie can read more.
Yeah, you guys want to go nuts here? Hold on a second. Arpin Basu tweeted 2 minutes ago. Canadians practice is starting in Calgary, and Patrick Laine is not on the ice.
Probably got hurt last night.
Probably.
Wow.
Patrick Laine. Hello, this is the Vegas Golden Knights.
You think so?
You imagine? No, I don't. But I mean, would it surprise you? Like, would you be like, "Holy shit, no way!" if Vegas pulled that off right now?
Probably not. I think Vegas is going to do something. We're waiting here. They haven't really done anything. Brandon Saad, I guess, was their big pickup.
Yeah,
signing him a couple weeks ago. Like there's got to be something up. We are a minute away here from the deadline, and all quiet on the Maple Leafs front. I did see a tweet that sounds like none of their prospects are going anywhere. So maybe that's it for the Maple Leafs. But we'll find out in a couple minutes here, boys.
it's now. If something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Meow. I don't know, boys. I think this is kind of it. I think this is it.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think there's gonna be an announcement, and I think you got to wrap your head around that.
Yeah.
I'm okay
And
with it.
Joshua Cloak, by the way, tweeted here a couple minutes ago. Lots can change with one phone call, but sounds like Easton Cowan and Ben Danford likely won't be moved
Yeah.
at the deadline. I don't know if you guys noticed there was a name missing from that.
Minted?
Yeah, people seem to be pointing that one out quickly. I don't think it happens.
I don't read into that. Saravalli, by the way, Frank Saravalli is saying Montreal's done for the day. So Armia and David Savard staying put. He could have been an option
Interesting.
on the right side on the back end for the Leafs. So we'll see here over the next couple minutes, but maybe it's
Shit.
unlikely they do anything else here.
I kind of just wanted a sweet little right-hander to kind of play, even third pairing with Benoit or something. That
we don't have a horn. Sorry, we don't have a horn.
why? Because those guys are
Scared
gonna
the
get,
shit out of me.
We don't have a horn, man. It's not my fire alarm. I just wanted to signify we've hit 3 Eastern time. Carry away.
yeah,
Sorry.
but shit comes in late. Oh, I thought you were ringing a goal horn because the guys I'm talking about are gonna get scored
just
on
because
so
we've
much.
hit deadline time. Sorry, Rosie. Sorry.
Yeah, but things trickle in afterwards. It's just as long as the facsimile machine goes in by the horn line.
Do they
I don't
still
think we're
fax trades to these like central registry? Like, I want to be behind the scenes as Mr. Trades lover. I want to know what takes place. Like, do you call some random fucking guy up like, "Hey, we're gonna trade Scott Laughton. You got a notepad to write this down? Like, how's it work?"
Seriously.
Yeah, I know it's kind of like that at the draft where you literally have like an
There is.
official notepad
Yeah.
and you give it to the guy and they bring it to the front. And it's funny to watch the drafts of the olden days, like in the 80s and before, and it's there's not even a crowd there and they're literally just stomping up to the front and giving it to a guy at a table. It's fucking crazy. I don't imagine it's too terribly different. Maybe there's a website where you click the button. It used to be a fax machine, man. And you know how like some of these old school GMs are trying to work a fax machine and the paper's fucking jammed and you start like office spacing this thing with a baseball bat. Can you I've heard stories where deals don't get done because like there's a paper jam and shit. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Man,
Well,
it's
Chicago,
funny.
right?
Yeah,
They're the ones who
pardon
didn't
me?
get the fax. Do you remember that story? Who was it? Who was the GM in Chicago who didn't get the fax in
Remember.
time?
Something
know
I
I'm
find out
talking
on the
about?
sheet, I think.
Was Berkey telling us
Oh my
that on
God,
the-
boys, you ready for this?
Go.
Uh-oh.
Elliot Friedman, last minute possibility, hearing Brad Marchand could be traded to Florida. You're fucking kidding me.
This guy just
No.
haunts us forever, dude. Come on.
We're going to get to the playoffs. They're going to play fucking Florida, and Brad Marchand's going to be there licking people on the other side again. Like, oh my God.
No way. Like,
What does that last minute possibility mean? Like, do they have an extra window because of the Panthers?
Marchand to the like, how do they keep getting so? Where would he play? 3?
Second line?
Would he?
I don't know. They got,
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
don't
I'm
know
just
where
trying to
they're
think
gonna
of what
put-
they have there. And
They got
Don't
Reinhardt. They
do-
got Bennett. They got Kachuk.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
I mean, I wonder what's going back. Can't be too much, but like, yeah.
Is it Chuck literally just going to activate?
Probably. Yeah.
I guess we'll that'll determine it, right? Whether he activates for game 1 of the playoffs or like that would make a big difference in that. Adding Marchand, what does he make?
Man, that's wild that Brad Marchand.
It's not jerk off to Domi highlights.
You're reading the chat. I love it.
No, it's a tweet from Zack Phillips.
Oh, yeah. That was like 20 minutes ago, dude.
Buddy, I am.
Maybe the
undialed.
Panthers get Crosby too. Why not?
Fuck me, man.
Shut up.
When is this going to get announced? What's the latest these come through, man?
Like 3:45.
Hurricanes and Penguins closing in on a Ricard Raquel deal.
Okay, that makes sense.
Besser doesn't go anywhere.
Anything on the
Yeah.
Leafs yet?
Don't
Nothing. I'm looking.
don't bolster the goddamn Panthers and pull the wind out of everyone's sails and make everyone scared to go into the goddamn playoffs, man. That is, I just don't want that to be true. I hope that's
James
not
Myrtle
true.
saying, "Don't think the Leafs are done." I don't know, man. You think they had any like inkling that maybe like I knew for one Florida had something up their sleeve. They had like what, just over $4.5 million in cap space. Kachuk's not coming back till playoffs. This would be like the perfect pickup for the Panthers. He fits that DNA too of that team, doesn't he?
No
Yeah.
shit.
Oh,
Yeah, to a T.
that's a gut punch. I was feeling good about this team 15 minutes ago, and to hear that Brad Marchand, Matthew Tkachuk, and Sam Bennett are going to be on the same team with Bobrovsky, playoff Bob, and Ekblad and Seth Jones in the mix. It's a big one.
Is there anything? Okay, I mean, where just gauging where you guys are at on this as well, and the day the Leafs have had versus the weeks that week plus Tampa and Florida have had here. You're gonna have to go through one of them in the second round, right? Like I think that's pretty much set here now, right? Is there anything? Because Myrtle tweeted out, like you said, Nick, don't think Leafs are done. Is there anything the Leafs do? Anything within like being realistic between now and this announcement, like that is like, okay, yeah, we're good. We're okay. Like that's a good ad. We've matched. We're competitive with those teams. We're going toe to toe.
I think it
I
would be
feel like we're
Braden
behind.
Shen. I think it would be Braden Shen.
Still?
Like
So you got
if
a
they
split.
got, dude, I'm telling you right now, like we're laughing. Scott Laughton's going to be the second line left winger in a week from now. I guarantee
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
So you can never have enough depth up the middle. You really can't. And I again, that's my major takeaway. If this is all the Leafs do, the bottom six is still a big time question for me. Like Scott Laughton comes in a perfect world. I love Max Domi on the fourth line. Like I think you have to have some spacing in your lineup. But that's probably the way I would answer it. Are the names available? Braden Shen is still a guy I would love to have on this team for a first and Minton. Like I would do it probably.
Like, do you bump Lorentz for Domi on the fourth line, or is Yarny go up? Is it Domi, Camp, Robertson a fourth line?
It depends. Like I like if you're asking me, and I'm not Craig Berube, I think he's got more faith in Steven Lorentz than he has Nick Robertson. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some guys, and we'll see it throughout the playoffs that are interchangeable. Whether it's Robertson, whether
Connor
it's
Timmins
Max
off the ice.
Pacioretty. Pardon me.
Connor Timmins brought off the ice.
Okay, so something's happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Moving
Rose is all
and
fired
shaking,
up,
baby. I
guys.
love it.
So Pierre LeBrun still pending league call, but told Brad Marchand is going to Florida. Sick.
Shut up.
And Braden Shen is staying put, according to Andy Strickland, who covers the Blues.
Of course, that prick is going to Florida.
Of course, man, dude. This is the guy we thought we're clear of the Boston Bruins from the Leafs perspective. We thought we were clear, and then Brad Marchand goes to like the new rival of the Leafs, the Florida Panthers, who are going to be here next Thursday, by the way.
Marchand doesn't have the same bite he used to.
I know, but still, it's Brad Marchand, man. Like,
Fuck, I know.
in the playoffs, Brad Marchand, motivated Brad Marchand.
Just sneakily punch him in the face when he goes to finish his check and take him right out. God,
But
man.
I will add too, like, I think the interesting part, like Marchand's not close to coming back, and you can speak to this being the former player in the league. It's no foregone conclusion. It comes full circle of the conversation about this podcast and this chat in general. Just because these players are on that roster doesn't mean chemistry wise it's going to work. So I just want to put that out there because very seldom do the big time moves work at the deadline. Clip this, bring it back in 2 months from now, Rosie. That's all I got to say.
What is the big time move, Marchand? Are you talking about?
Marchand's a pretty significant move to add into that room, right?
Oh, shit. But he's like a leader. He's got experience. He plays with absolute grit. He can score the big goal, and he's a game time clutch player. Fuck. How did they get that much better? Both teams. Like they get Jones on the back end and Marchand up front, eh?
Jeez.
Oh, fuck.
Can't forget Vitek Vanacek and Nico Sturm.
God damn it, man. Okay, announce our shit. I'm sick of looking
Yeah.
at that guy's face. Yeah, the Panthers, no less. They're such a wagon, dude. Coached by Paul Maurice. Wow. It's impressive.
Yeah, see, did I not say that 15 minutes ago? We're going to get a trade that comes out of nowhere. We still haven't heard from Vegas, by the way.
Well, we haven't heard.
I know. That's what I can't believe we haven't heard from the Golden Knights here today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently the Canes are done for the day. Raquel didn't happen, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it did not.
Wow.
Bruce Garriock tweeted that the Sens may not be done.
Ooh.
Oh, God. How Dude, it makes the end of the season, the last 20 games, it's going to be exciting. Like, it's going to be exciting analyzing what Marchand is like in Florida. How much better did they get? I know you're talking about like whether it's the chemistry works or not. I just cannot, like, he has got Panthers DNA all over him, and he's going to play third line or second or what, but he's going to be a factor. Are they going to try to, it's like, who's going to take this division? If the Leafs still win this division, man, it's going to be a hell of a good sign, because it's going to be a dogfight for 20 games. I bet you that.
Rosie, I just got your text that you have to piss so bad. Go do that. Me and Zach will chat for a couple moments here, and we'll bring you back in. Okay, thank you. Jay Rosehill's got to go piss, so here you go.
Thanks, Dad.
Like a fucking 4-year-old. I gotta piss. So go fucking piss. At the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Folks, where are you gonna find a show entertaining as this right now, deadline time? We're waiting to move here for the Maple Leafs. We'll see what happens here. Oh my goodness, the Leafs are getting Brandon Carlo. Are you fucking kidding me? The response we wanted. And this is gonna be a first. It's gonna be Minton. What a fucking pickup. Rosie's taking a piss right now. Holy smokes. Did I not just talk about that? I'm like, Brandon Carlo going to cost too much. That's why they held on to the pick, didn't they?
Yeah.
Where's Rosie?
Oh my God. Dude.
That changes your mindset, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit. Honestly. I mean, look, here's the thing now. If this was ever like the big boys have to do it, the big boys have to do it, like this is the last shot. This is the last chance. You add your right-hand D, you add Scott Laughton. Unbelievable work here by Brad Treliving on the Laughton trade yet again. Let's wait and find out 100% what we get here for Carlo. Like we still
Dude, this
don't
contract's
fully
pretty
know.
decent too, eh? 6 years, 4.1 per season. He's got 2 years left after this one at 4.1.
Okay.
I love that. Rosie steps away. The Leafs make a blockbuster trade for Brandon Carlo. Toronto-Boston deal, man.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, the Bruins, obviously, they're just waving the white flag. Like,
So who's going the other way?
But
Like, just they're gonna have to move some money out here, right?
it's got to be, right? Like,
Rosie, you just missed.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
Brandon Carlo is going to Toronto.
I'm looking at it. A right-handed defenseman.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is costing a first in Minton. I'm telling you right now. That's why we didn't hear Minton's name before.
Oh, it's Minton, and you knew one of those guys is gone. It's funny what they put priority on, Cowan or Minton, hey? I would always thought Cowan, but then after World Juniors, it's kind of like, are there question marks there?
I love this, guys. I like the
Dude, I
pickup,
like
man,
this a
especially
lot.
getting a Bruin. He's been there before, played these meaningful games. So a good combo, I think, to Florida here and getting Brad Marchand, no?
This also fits perfectly on Brad Treliving's like MO of what you build and how your guys are,
Yes.
how they're constructed. I mean, you got a guy with a little bit of term here. What did you say, Nick?
2 years left at 4.1.
Okay, so a couple years left. 4.1 is pretty good. I mean, who knows if there's retention on this or not? I mean, I doubt it, but 6'5", 220-pound right shot defenseman.
Who dog it?
That's
big
We're
tuna.
all waiting for it, boys. That's why patience is a virtue. Told you that, man. They got fucking logs on the back end.
You never said
they got big boys on the back
virtue.
end. McCabe, Tanev,
yeah.
Carlo, OEL, Myers, like some guys who'll be bitches to play against in the playoffs, man. Like those are tough nosed guys.
So did Benoit just get bumped?
I think
OEL
Timmins
goes
is
back
on
to the left side.
Timmins is gone.
Yeah, Timmins is gone, it sounds like.
And Myers and OEL, you think in that third pairing?
Well, if you bring in Carlo, I think Timmins is gone. Yeah. I think
Carlo
maybe
playing with Riley.
Carlo and Riley, yeah.
Fuck.
Oh my God.
That's pretty sweet, man. I'm glad they did something. I was not happy with that Marchand trade. Like, are you kidding me? And this sweetens it. Carlo's he's a name, man. He's been there. He's seen it. He's fucking 6'5", 220.
I'm pumped about that, boys.
Better,
I feel
dude.
much better.
Our back end looks much better. Wow.
Does this not feel like
what did we give?
This is perfect pairing for Morgan Rielly.
Yeah.
Like this is you didn't get Luke Shen. Brandon Carlo makes just
This guy's
unbelievable
28
amounts of
years
sense.
old with 28 years old with term, man. That's such a win. Is that not? Why wasn't he even on the he wasn't spoken of very much. Did no one knew he was available? Like the fucking Bruins are just selling her off.
So my interpretation, because I think teams poked around, it was going to cost too much. That's why I think it's going to be a pretty expensive trade. But I like it. Like we're win now mode. He fits a need. Going to play with Rielly. I like it, regardless of the price here. But I'm bracing for a 2026 first rounder and Minton to be in this deal. Maybe Timmins too.
So you think that first is gone? So we don't have a first pick for 3 years.
Yeah, 2028 would be the next one they have.
That's going to be the caveat that everyone's bitching about in Leafs land. And Minton, first and Minton for Carlo.
That's my guess. Yeah,
we're making a run, boys.
Yeah,
with Stoli.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I was kind of thinking this is going to be flop titties, but it's looking kind of neato here, gang.
Wow.
What the hell did they give up for him, man? It's weird that that's not coming.
I love watching Boston just go scorched earth like with this. They're like, screw this. We're just trading everybody.
Who's left?
I don't know. Elias Lindholm. Nikita Zadorov. Imagine Zadorov how he feels right now. Signs there long term.
I don't think of him as a Bruin. You know, he just got there.
He's
like
there. Yeah.
There's none of those core guys left. Like it's interesting, man. Fuck,
maybe go piss again. Maybe something else bigger will happen. Maybe they'll get Crosby this time. Take a shit this time. Go take a dump this time.
I want to see what this costs, man. Maybe at the 11th hour. Fuck, no way. What do you think? It's got to be
Shea
that
Weber
first,
just got traded, guys. Shea Weber just got traded.
Shut up.
Chicago. Victor Soderstrom, Akurati, Shea Weber to Utah for a 2026 sixth rounder. Didn't Shea Weber just like get into the Hall of Fame?
Was Webb still with Montreal or what?
No,
you know what's one of the funniest things is I'm pretty sure Shea Weber is not LTIR.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
Is he coming out of retirement then to play at Chicago? Run that power play with Bedard or what? At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. In real time, you got a reaction to the Brandon Carlo trade. So the Maple Leafs have acquired Brandon Carlo, a right-handed shooting defenseman from the Boston Bruins out of all teams. And that's the response I think we needed, boys, after finding out minutes before that Brad Marchand, the nemesis numero uno, headed to the Florida Panthers. And I think that's going to be my story from the trade deadline 2025. The Atlantic Division bulking up. How do the Tampa Bay Lightning feel about this right now?
Fuck, I wish that Florida didn't bulk up so much, man. They were kind of on the back burner all year almost. Now they're doing fine, but they're clipping along, and you kind of think of them as taking a step back. And this is kind of the year that the Atlantic's a little bit weaker, and now's the time for Toronto, and they're kind of leading the charge for a while. I'm very pleased with where Toronto is, but that big caveat once again is those big fucking cats in Florida, man. They got better, but that Carlo's awesome, man. I honestly didn't think we were going to make a dent, and I just thought it would be too tough. But Tree, man, for all the people that are bitching on like Wednesday and Thursday about Tree doesn't have the DNA to make deals. He doesn't have the DNA to fucking
I was not bitching about Tree Living. I just got to jump in. Sorry, Rosie. You can continue your point. I was not bitching about Tree Living.
I just wanted them
to. I know Nick said me.
Yeah.
I just wanted them to make a move. I was not bitching about Tree Living. I just was watching all the other teams do it, and we weren't. That was where I was at. Sorry, Rosie. You can continue.
You said do something, man. I think
they've done something. Yes.
This is satisfying to me.
Something.
Very satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only caveat is fucking Panthers did like more.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. I get it.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
But there's still, that. And for me, there's still question marks. Like Marchand's coming off a pretty serious injury. Matthew Tkachuk's coming off a serious injury. That team's logged a lot of kilometers. I would say miles, but I live here in Canada. I don't know. I think it's so difficult to get back to a Stanley Cup final. It's going to be a war, but we didn't expect anything otherwise. Like the Leafs just have to step their game up. And I think the additions they've made today specifically have been monumental towards that pathway in Brandon Carlo and Scott Laughton. And the most important part, Rosie, is these guys are not just rentals. They're here next year. And in Carlo's case, 2 more years. And Laughton could re-sign. So like you're slowly but surely changing the configuration of the team, not to mention the blue line specifically, night and day from the Dubas era to the Tree Living era.
Seriously, hey, people were calling for certain changes to be made and for their identity to look differently. While, how do you do that? And I mean, and goaltending they have shored up too. Like the Stoli move is fucking brilliant. It's been lucky, and you couldn't have predicted that, but without moving around those core 4 guys for this team to look as different it is their back end, like Tanev, OEL, you still have Morgan Riley back there now, Carlo, and I think their little like McCabe is just a wicked piece too, like, and he's cheap, and I actually like Benoit and the way that he plays. I think he plays with pride. I love watching him. I think he could do, be that 6th guy in the playoffs, and you'd be happy with them. Talked about moving things around the bottom 6 there. Like, that's a nice piece of business, man. It was still no word on what they gave up for Brandon
Nothing.
Carlo.
My buddies are lunatics. Like my best friend texts me, and like just the array of emotions being a Leafs fan, going from catch me as a pancake on the 401 to Brandon Carlo and uppercase, put your nuts on the desk, Bradley. So it's like that's a roller coaster of emotion, man.
Lunatic.
If you could see Vic and I's texts from today, like it's pretty much the same.
Dude, it's the passion. It is the passion of being a Leafs fan, the ups and downs, the losses, the wins, the triumphs, the losses in the playoffs, man. It's all part about being a Leafs fan, dealing with Rosie as a Leaf too.
Breaking news. I just got something here.
Uh-oh.
Maxentius Decimus Meridius, leader of the Northern Army, father to a slain son. Super chat. Nice to get some term instead of some rentals. I would have to agree. That's another kicker caveat on these guys. They aren't just a one pump and dump. These guys are Maple Leafs now for a good chunk of the future. That's an exciting piece. Man, I didn't think we were going to get a right-hand D-man. How is Carlo not on anyone's radar, really? I take him over Ristolainen. His money isn't that crazy. He's got term, right hand. His age is like right where you'd want it. Like that is prime time for a defenseman, 28 years old, 4.1. I mean, it's not like it's 5.86. It's fucking sweet tree. He's owed a lot of apologies on the Twitter machine, man. Like sweet. Like, I don't know how you could have done any better. Not saying it's perfect or it's incredible, but with how hard it is to do and with what you're trying to hold on to, I know we don't have all the info on the Carlo deal, but pretty tough to do that, man. And he addressed both issues in a really nice way.
Yep.
And I don't think we have sold the farmer you could really bitch too heavily about it. Like he did what everyone could ask of him, man. That's fucking sweet.
Adam Butt writes in, you guys are overreacting. Treat your viewers with honesty and respect, please.
Explain how, dickhead. Like, say more. What does that even fucking mean, you dickhead? Treat me with some respect. I don't agree. Shut the fuck up. Now I'm not going to chat anymore.
See, I told you the chat, man.
We're overreacting to what?
Yeah.
The trade deadline?
Yeah.
That's what you
Excuse
do.
us.
Yeah.
We wanted a depth center. We wanted Scott Laughton or Brady.
He's not a
Shed.
fan. He says 4 to 10 trade deadline. I guess he wanted more from Tree. Maybe he wanted Crosby or something.
Yeah,
well, I want Crosby too. Fuck.
Too bad you're not the GM, buddy. Sorry for disrespecting you. You're so deserved of respect, dickhead.
Guys, this is a pretty good tweet too. It says David Pasternak, and it's like the Will Smith moving out of the house from Fresh Prince. Remember when they moved out? That's pretty damn good.
Smell you later, hey?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they could retool on the fly, but I think it's a bit bittersweet from the Leafs perspective. Deadline day, the Bruins are finally sellers. They don't got to deal with this team in the playoffs, and Brad Marchand goes to the Florida Panthers. But I love the response. I would love to get a video or audio from the Leafs war room as they find out Marchand. Maybe they were in on Marchand for all we know, but they find out that Florida gets Marchand and how to pivot quickly, and maybe they had the Carlo deal whipped up at the same time. But I'd love to see like a behind the scenes how all that went down here.
I don't know. I'm just reading something here about Brandon Carlo. Someone I know does some modeling. Tweeted out
Oh,
higher on
modeling.
Brandon
Okay.
higher on Brandon Carlo than most of the public models I've seen, especially as it pertains to playoff performer and potential fit. Riley OEL has been a nightmare.
Zach, so my rebuttal to that, I was watching, there's so many different streams on today, but somebody went on air and said they had the Winnipeg Jets as 9% chance of winning a Stanley Cup. Can your friend's model
I did see
explain
that.
what the fuck that means? Like a 9, and my confusion with this whole analytics era stems back to years ago. I'm watching the Maple Leafs take on the Boston Bruins, a matinee affair in Game 5 of their first-round matchup, first of 15 first-round matchups. The Leafs up 3-2 in the series. And some dude's model out there, your boy Dom, I don't know who it was. I think it was Dom, actually. He had the Leafs at like a 68% chance of winning the series. What does that mean? And who won the series? Please tell me. It wasn't the Maple Leafs. So, sorry. I digress.
It's like the betting models. Everyone's models are different. Dom's is a little bit too.
I want to hear Rosie's model. What's Rosie's model?
Yeah, what's
Tell
the
us.
Rosehill model?
You try to put a number on something that hasn't happened yet, you're a fucking idiot. Like 9% chance, you nerd. Like doesn't even God couldn't like this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. To put those things. So if you ran it, so if the exact same parallels were happening 10 times, they'd win 1 cup. 10 times they win less than 1 cup. The Winnipeg Jets by your model. Like, where do you come up with this shit?
Yeah.
It's unproven, impossible to know models that you're putting hard numbers on. Like, what's the point of that? All this Corsi shit and hard numbers and dubises and all that crap. It's not baseball. It doesn't work like that. I hate that shit. There's chances and feelings and potential. That's all there is, man, until it happens. And then you can go back and dissect it. I want to know what the Leafs gave up for this guy, man. It's weird that it's not coming out, is it not?
I know.
Not yet. Why don't I read this Firehouse read? Because our sponsors are important to this podcast. At the Leaf Station 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. As the official sub of the Toronto Maple Leafs, check out Firehouse subs for a limited edition souvenir cup that is perfect for game day celebrations. Available in select restaurants across Ontario. Fans can collect this team-inspired souvenir cup with the purchase of any sub combo while supplies last. Be sure to check out the Brisket Hat Trick. It's a Canada-exclusive menu item. This hot and hearty sub is piled high with smoked turkey breast, Virginia honey ham, and beef brisket. It is topped off with sweet and tangy slaw, barbecue sauce, and mayo, and served on a toasted sub roll. Head to your local Firehouse subs to grab your limited edition Toronto Maple Leafs souvenir cup today. Bang! If you're just tuning in, the Leafs, 2 big deadline moves. Scott Laughton, Oakville, Ontario, now a Maple Leaf, and Brandon Carlo out of nowhere at the buzzer going from Boston to Toronto. We'll start with you, Rosie. Your thoughts. If this is all, and it's a lot what the Leafs have done, Laughton and Carlo, how do you feel about this team right now?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm happily surprised that they got both tickets done, that everybody unanimously agreed is what they needed the most. I think that you're going to see as they play hockey and put some things together and start to get used to it, that the fall off, which they honestly haven't had very much of this year, like they've been much more consistent than they've been in the past. The fall off from their good hockey to their bad has not been that wide of a gap. And now when you fill in some depth on the front end and get that all important right winger to fill the gaping side on the right for this Toronto Maple Leafs back end, I think you're going to feel it, and you're going to feel some solidarity throughout the lineup, and the drop off, as minimal as it has been this year, is even going to get smaller now. So I think that now you look at it and you say, all right, it still comes down to the big guns like Willie and Mitch and Austin. You've got all the pieces you could fucking ask for surrounding you. You've got goaltending. Your D's been shored up. You're coached by a more playoff style coach who's demanding a more playoff style set of hockey. You need to score the goddamn goals to get the wins in the playoffs. That's the final piece of this. And we always knew it comes down to that, but there's always that caveat in that out clause of, well, they didn't really surround them with enough, and they would have made a deal at the deadline. They were just too thin here or there. you've done all you can, man. They're deep enough. They're heavy enough. They've got, they're solid where you need to be. It's time for the big boys to go win, some series and knock out the likes of the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Florida Panthers. Someone's got to go through the Washington Capitals. You got to get to an Eastern Conference final. You got to get your big guns to get you through that, get to a cup final. Why the fuck not now? If those boys are up to the task, they have a good chance.
I'm pretty happy with this deadline, honestly. And I just talked about before that Carlo deal happened, the one thing that I was looking for to kind of take place here, which would have been that deep partner for Morgan Riley. Like, I was disappointed when Luke Shen didn't happen. Kind of was on the same page as Nick. He's talking about I was too expensive. I just didn't think that they were going to even circle back on Brandon Carlo. Like, in all honesty, the only thing that's giving me scare right now is that if it's Fraser Minton, like, you traded him to Boston. Like, if there's any team that's going to like just have some nightmare effects on it, it's Boston. But that's a future issue. And right now I'm not really worried about that. It's now we're trying to win the cup now. You go and add Brandon Carlo. And I mean, to throw in here too, another piece of nice, tidy work here. Here's your D for the next 3 years, or this season included, but it's Chris Tanev, OEL, Jake McCabe, Brandon Carlo, and Morgan Riley. Like, you're locked into a pretty solid group. And if you have to move off pieces, you have to move off pieces. You want to go and add guys, you can go and add guys and upgrade and down, whatever it has to be. But you've done a pretty nice job of solidifying this. Yeah, okay, you gave up picks. You gave up a prospect here, potentially, if that's the case. But you got term on these guys. Like, I mean, not to bring it back to where we were before, but Kyle Dubas, how many times did we see, they traded picks and he's gone at the end of the season? Foligno, gone. ROR, gone. These guys come, then they're out the door. Like, we went and added and improved this team. You filled holes here, although I'm slightly worried that Scott Laughton by the second period might be on the second line left wing tomorrow night. But team's in a better spot. And you've got guys with term. And I think that that's a massive win here right now. I don't know that they're just set up to be the number one team in the Atlantic, but Brad Treliving gave them no excuses here now. Like, none. No excuses. I mean, big boys, you got to show up because you haven't before. And he's given them some pieces around them, solidified some stuff. Pretty happy with this trade deadline day. Like, you added, you got better. That's kind of all you could ask for. Now, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, figure it the fuck out for the first time in the playoffs in your career. Like, so it's your time now. Like, you got to go.
Nick, what are you thinking?
Yeah, if I had to letter grade it, I'd go with an A. I think you looked at the mission statement or the objectives throughout the season. The checklist going into deadline week was to solidify the blue line. I thought it was going to be a bottom pairing guy, but to add a top 4 guy who can play with Morgan Riley. The contract makes a lot of sense. To add a top 9 center, a guy with character, well-liked, kills penalties, the versatility of a lot, and I think shouldn't be understated either. The fact he can be on your first line, he can play on your third line, your fourth line, kills penalties and all that. Like, I just think it's so vital to have flexibility in this day and age, not to mention there's the familiarity as well with Craig Berube there when it comes to Scott Laughton from their short time in Philadelphia, but he knows the player. And I just think you look at what this team was looking to do and improve themselves in the last couple of days, and they did that. I know it stings, as you talked about. Boston has direly needed centers. Fraser Minton's probably going to pop off there. The latest we're hearing is that it's a prospect. And James Myrtle also saying there are multiple trades involved here, complicated deals going on. So,
by the way, I don't know if you saw, like, Yoki Haru says going to Boston there. So from Buffalo, I don't know if that would have anything to deal with it, with it, excuse me, but I saw that.
Losing Minton doesn't terrify me. I think that Easton Cowan's ceiling is higher for some reason. I know he had kind of a flub in the World Juniors, but I think it was just immaturity. He wanted to run around like he was Tutu or Lindros, and they were taking penalties. And I don't really care for the coach they had in place there. I like his piss and vinegar.
Yeah.
I like his skill set, and he's very young. I'm glad we still have Cowan and Minton. I mean, too much of him for some reason, as good as he could be. Maybe it's the baby face or something, but I just don't see that killer instinct where he's a big difference maker in a war of a playoff series against somebody. I'm not going to cry the blues. You had to do something to make something work, and if he's part of it, I don't think I'm quite as high on him as maybe other people are.
So a couple updates. Fraser Minton, in fact, confirmed by multiple sources in the deal. Kevin McGrawn also writing, the belief is Connor Timmins and Connor Dewar have been dealt. Their Uber is on its way. And Minton's part of the Brandon Carlo deal. So there could be multiple deals in play here as well.
That's a crazy way to put it.
Yeah,
Their
their
Uber's
Uber's on
on
the
the
way.
way.
So
Good
the
job,
first,
Kevin.
though?
Yeah, I think it's I'm telling you, it's going to be what I expected it was going to be, because it's funny. We talked about
it's
that
gonna be
tweet
what
an
Nick
hour ago.
expected.
Pardon me?
It's going to be what Nick expected, is it?
Yeah, because that's what I said. I said the first and Minton, did I not?
I wasn't listening, Nick. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you get a deal over. You don't get over the hump anywhere else. Like you say, he's a top 4 defenseman.
Yeah.
That first you can get back
Gotta
in
pay.
other ways down the road. I mean, look at the other teams that won. To Zach's point yesterday, the team, like, you don't hold on to your picks. I mean, you got to do something to win a cup. You got to do something, make a move. If you sell yourself pretty heavy down the pipeline, find ways to get it back later. Fine. I'm not. I don't think they've sold the farm. I'm not worried about the future. The time is now. We got a lot of guys in their prime. We've added. There's depth. There's retained salary. You've got some picks, along the way that could turn in, like third rounders. Sometimes turn into the dudes that you're looking for. Not everything is black and white with the draft. So interesting, man. I'd be thrilled if it wasn't for the stupid goddamn Florida Panthers right now, but I got to stop thinking about them and realize that we got better today.
Fair enough. Zach, I believe you have to go get set for the sheet with Jeff Merrick. Make sure to
Yes.
tune into the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel at 4 Eastern time. What's coming up for that show?
Brian Burke joining here today. Just going to recap all the trades, break everything down, probably potentially here find out some stuff that almost went down, didn't. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, 4:00 Eastern time. Make sure to tune in. Stay till the very end of this show, though. Do not leave. Do not
Thank
leave.
you.
Just go from there, here to there. Do not
And
leave
don't
until
forget,
the end.
the Leafs Nation After Dark tomorrow night. Zack Phillips will be at Greta Bar, but also at his computer to do the show after the
You're
game.
not.
Leafs and the Avalanche, baby. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for
See you,
having
One
me.
and only Zack Phillips breaking it down here on Deadline Day. Really, really, really eventful. It's our first time doing this 2-hour special, and we might have to do it again as a good omen following what's transpired here for the Maple Leafs. Again, if you're just tuning in, they pick up Scott Laughton from the Philadelphia Flyers, and also Brandon Carlo is now a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, still awaiting official word on the trade. Sounds like a lot of moving parts. But all in all, again, I'm very, very happy with what they've put together today. And I like the fact that you brought up it's on the players, man. Matthews came out. He said, we want moves. We want moves. They got their moves, man.
There's your moves, big tuna. I'm going to call publicly for all the naysayers that say Brad Treliving's incapable of making deals and shit. I want them to apologize. That's he made moves, man. He got things done. There was a need. There was 2 specific needs, and he hammered home legit options in both of them. It cost you your first, and it cost you Fraser Minton and some other things down the road. But I mean, the cap's not getting crunched. You don't need to go and yank players or put guys on waivers that you didn't really want to just to try to clear space. It works. There's different options. There's going to be some competitiveness on who's going to take certain spots and where things are going to shake out, and I think that's going to be up to the players, which I think is good and healthy. Some of these guys, there's Pacioretty, McMahon, Holmberg, Lorentz, Robertson, Yarncroke. Like, if you see the direction where this team's going and who's leading the charge and what Tree Living has done and what Berube has said, you want to place on this train, you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to do the things that they are that they've laid out. And to me, that's playing a little bit heavier, a little bit smarter, and high output playoff hockey is going to get it done. And the surrounding pieces around those big boys, that's all you can do is do the best you can around them and say, now do your fucking job and score the big goal and have the big game and come together. Like, if all those guys, you rarely see it where all those guys are cooking. I want to see it in the playoffs. I want to see Matthews and Marner and Willie all leap off the page, all have standout games, all be absolutely buzzing. You will overwhelm teams so badly if those guys are all buzzing with the other pieces that you've put around them. We look pretty deep, man. And at the end of the day, it's up to those guys. And contract year for Mitchie, he's been playing well. He has had some success. He's had recent confidence boost from the Four Nations. It's going to be interesting to see it down the barrel here. But if you look around, nobody else got worse around you, especially the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that's exactly who you're in a fight for the Atlantic Division.
It's going to be a dogfight. There's no doubt about that. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. A bunch of super chats in support of Sick Kids to get to. Tammy, thank you so much once again. Tamara Rosehill, sorry, nope. Love the last name, though, but not for me. I love how unhinged this show can be at times. Laugh my ass off.
She's such a hottie.
Maxentius Decimus, thank you for the super chat. So nice to get some term instead of rentals. I totally agree. They did chase that from the beginning. If you recall back early in the season, it was speculated that they wanted somebody with term. They got two guys with term today in Laughton and Carlo.
Totally. And neither of them like break the bank, especially Laughton with 50% retained as well.
1.5.
And it's not like Carlo makes 6.5 or 7 or something, and you're trying to force him in there. It's a tidy piece of business, man.
Yeah.
I'm pretty pleased. There's going to be the people that are pissed that Minton in a first rounder is gone. Why is that so valuable to you? Like, the ultimate goal is to win a Stanley Cup. Why are those are the pieces that you need to hold on to in order to win a Stanley Cup? When? Like, with who? What are you talking about, man? You have to give things up to become good. You have to sacrifice a little bit. You have to risk a little bit. And the risk of giving up some first rounders is, you gotta do well with what you get back. And, first rounders aren't gone forever. You can get them back in different ways. So many people just acquired first rounders. If this team doesn't get it done and you're losing the big boys and you're doing a little rebuild, well, then you do what other teams just did and you load up on some first rounders and you see what you can do. We're not there right now. We're in our prime. We're at the top of the league. We have a chance. We just got better. Be happy with it and support this goddamn team. I think it's exciting.
Jonathan Stewart, thank you for the super chat and support of Sick Kids. Minton isn't anybody to be worried about losing.
Agreed.
I wouldn't go that far, but I think he's a good prospect. But I think for a Carlo, I would do the deal.
Everyone's got good prospects, and no one's saying he's going to be a needle mover. No one's saying he's going to go win trophies elsewhere. He's a good player and he's got lots of potential, but we actually got to see him play a bunch of pro. We got to see him in the NHL. We got to, test him out. I'm not crying the blues over him. He's a fine player, and it's up to him on where he goes to and what his ceiling is. But you needed a pretty decently enough to talk about right-handed defenseman, and Carlo's all kinds of that with term. Let's go, man. That's awesome. I think fucking Tree Living, he came through big time, and everyone who said he's not capable of it and doesn't make moves and he sits on his hands and fucking, how do you like them apples, man? I think it's great.
Asanamo writes in via super chat in support of Sick Kids. Florida Panthers at Boston Bruins March 11th. That's going to be appointment viewing. But again, Brad Marchand, who knows when he's returning to that lineup. Not playing right now. Neither is Matthew Tkachuk. By the way, via Chris Johnston, the Pens are acquiring Connor Timmins from Toronto. What did you make of Timmins' time in Toronto the last couple of years?
So was it Timmins that got yanked off the ice or Myers?
It was Timmins.
So Timmins is gone. He's fine. Big guy. He had some positives. He had some negatives. He's kind of an average dude. He's a good NHL quality player. He doesn't move the needle. He's fine. To lose him, I'm not crying the blues. He's one of those guys that you could interchange, and looks like it was him, not Myers. I wonder if Benoit. I hope this doesn't mean Benoit's the odd man out. I like Benoit the most out of Timmins, Benoit, and Myers. People might argue that. I like his heaviness. I like his attitude. I like his confidence. I like the grit factor. I think if you get into a dogfight in the playoffs, I think he's a guy that you want on your side more so than a Timmins or Myers. But we'll see where it shakes out. You got to lose someone. I'm not crying the blues over Timmins. Good luck to you.
Exactly it. I think he deserves a lot of credit. Craig Berube does as well for putting the player back in the NHL, getting his career back on track and staying healthy. That's been a big story when it comes to Connor Timmins this season. He's been available, and that's been the story in his career way back to his time with Colorado. when he was a high-end prospect. Like, he could not stay healthy. And the fact that they've actually turned him into an NHL defenseman, of course, we wish him all the best in his time in Pittsburgh. But you talk about depth in the back end, you need abundance of it in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So they got Benoit, they got Myers, we think. Now you bring Carlo into the fold. It doesn't hurt to have a lot of bodies on the blue line either.
So Dewar and Timmins are both going to Pitt, it looks like, hey?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
How do they come into the fray? I just want to see this put down on paper so I can see.
I think it's a 3-team deal. I think it's
Exactly.
probably Pittsburgh, Boston, Toronto, 3-team deal here.
What is the circle here? What did Boston get? Minton. How does Pittsburgh come into the fold?
See, when I see another team added, I wonder if there's retention, right? Just speculation on my part, but is there retention on Carlo's contract?
Do you even need retention on Carlo's contract? Like, this is the
Well, the
team.
more
We're
the
under the cap.
merrier. The more the merrier for the following seasons. Imagine you have him like 50% for the next 2 years, like very McCabe-like from a couple years ago when they picked him up.
Yeah, I'm just thinking this year, but yeah, they're not rentals, man. There's money out. That's 50% on Laughton, potential on Carlo.
Like, that Laughton deal is sweet, man. To get Laughton at 1.5 next year is great.
Dude, like, I don't know what's going to happen with Mitch Marner, but regardless of what happens, unless they sign him like $14 million, there's a lot of money to be spent in the summertime here. Like, you could get a couple of substantial pieces, and it's a heavy year. There's a lot of talent to go around. It could be interesting. It could be exciting. And that retention, like $1.5 million, $2 million here, that means something. We've seen it down to fucking $75. Was it a couple of years ago? Is what you have left on the cap. How do you even get down to under $100? Unbelievable. So if you think $1.5 million or $2 million is nothing here, that's the difference between make or break on a deal. That's interesting. That retention on somebody, obviously Carlo would be nice.
You know who deserves a lot of credit and really doesn't get it? But Brandon Pridham,
Me.
the capologist.
Oh.
Yeah, you too. But Brandon Pridham, who, again, we're just speculating right now. We don't know this second deal, but you're telling me that they brought in Laughton, they brought in Carlo, and who left the roster? Like Timmins, Connor Dewar, Ryan Reeves. Like, these are guys that I don't want to call them inconsequential, but like, they're replaceable,
They
interchangeable.
are inconsequential. Well, yeah, they are replaceable. That's what they are. They're interchangeable. They're the thing about certain players, like a Matthew Nyes, is you can't replace them. They don't have a lot of those. Like, that's why he's so valuable. And to be in a top six and to be young and to be on an entry-level contract, it's like, fuck, man, that's so valuable. With some of the players that you just mentioned that are moving out, you can find another one of those. It's not, you're not going to break your heart. You like the guy. There's nothing personal against them, but you can find another one of them. So, good call with Pridham. I don't like the salary cap. It overwhelms me. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm more of a word guy. But when you get into the thick of it and you're crunching, and it gets complicated when there's some caveats to certain things and different players, AAVs, and shit's going on. It's hard. And the cap gets kind of murky. And to have a guy like Pridham, we've mentioned him before, considering who he is. He's been mentioned a lot, and it's for good reason, man. It's kind of a valuable job, and not every GM has the mind that's going to be, in a nerdy way, understanding the numbers and getting them to fit in their columns the way they need to. It's great to have a guy like that beside you. I imagine he's pretty valuable to the tree.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Frank Saravalli breaking down the trade right now on Twitter. Carlo to Toronto, First and Minton to the Bruins, Timmins and Dewar to Pittsburgh, and he says he believes there is retention involved as well in this deal, which I think could be a huge for the Maple Leafs. We just talked about cap space being, cap being king. If you can get some retention on the Carlo contract, I'm all for it.
Some idiot just texted me that the Leafs got fleeced on the Carlo trade. What an idiot.
Really?
He's a friend and he's an idiot. I got a chat where there's not a lot of Leafs fans.
So he's beaking you.
It's a great thing. Like, that's the retention on top of it, man. You wait until that pays dividends here over the next months to, the different times in these contracts and in this era where you're going to July 1, and it's very valuable that you've retained on some of these guys. I think that there's a reason that he slipped that in there, and probably took getting another team involved to have it happen. But pretty interesting, pretty awesome. Fuck, I'm excited to see these guys on the ice and see what the lineups look up, see what the combinations are, see how things shake up. I would love to get Tanev healthy right now, Pacioretty healthy right now, and then just actually be able to look at your options.
Yeah, and that's another sidebar story. As the Leafs get set to visit Colorado tomorrow night, Chris Tanev could be zoning in on his return. Missed about a week. I love resting guys. I think it's great to have the Leafs in this position where they can rest guys like Pacioretty. As you saw on Twitter, I put out it's back spasms for Max Pacioretty, which isn't encouraging, but it's also not the worst thing for, somebody. We'll see how his body reacts, but I think it's more, at least in my opinion, holding out Pacioretty to get him ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs than it is them really focused on the injuries and the back spasms. So I think once we get to see this roster in person in play, I think it'll be mighty, mighty exciting because they feel really, really good. KPG has a question. Ask Rosie, who will play with Riley? Yes. Do you think it'll be Carlo?
I do think so. You're looking for that responsible right-handed guy that can, that's multi-dimensional, multifaceted, take care of your own end, but jump up, realize what Riley's doing out there, and just compliment Riley. And unfortunately, Riley's kind of a finicky guy. He takes a certain player to make him better, I guess, or to not allow him to be shit. I don't know how it's annoying to me that he's that finicky on his partners. You're supposed to be able to put anyone with your, $7 million D-man and have that player be in good hands. It's not really that way with Riley, but I think that just the disparity between Riley's good and bad is kind of big, and you're just trying to bridge that as well as you can. So I see McCabe, Tanev, Riley, Carlo, Benoit, OEL.
Yeah.
Or is it OEL back on the left side with Myers? OEL, if he's comfortable on that right side, why not Benoit, OEL? I know they don't complement each other too well, but for that third pairing in the minutes they're going to eat, you kind of cover the bases. You got some reliability, you got some bite, you got some offensive movement. They can both move the puck. It'd be interesting to see. Maybe it's the complete opposite and they're terrible together. I don't know, but I love the six of McCabe, Tanev, Riley, Carlo, Benoit, OEL. I mean,
Where's Hockenpah, Rosie? How about Yanni Hockenpah?
I wish he worked out.
I know.
Imagine he was what he's supposed to be. Like, what a knee injury to have. My Lord. The voice of Brandon Carlo, he's speaking right now. I'm sure that's not worth listening to, but
no, apparently he said definitely a shocker when I heard that it was Toronto. What an opportunity for me to go in there and try and help this group win. So he sounds excited.
Fucking A. Very cool. And lots. I'm excited to talk to him. Oh, I feel bad reaching out to guys, but in the business that I'm in on this side of things, it's what you kind of got to do. But I know what your phone feels like when you get traded, whether you're Gretzky or whether you're me. Everyone that you know is texting you and you can't even keep up with it. Meanwhile, a billion different things are going on. The space that you live, your wife, your kid, your dog, all kinds of shit, man. He's got a new baby there, lots, and he's very excited to be a dad and he's enjoying that. So you just uprooted your whole family. There's a million things going on, but give it a week's time, 2 weeks, all of a sudden these players are going to be here. They're going to be cemented. We're going to know what they look like. We're going to start to get a feel for what this roster looks like. And again, the hourglass just trickles down to those big dogs. Like, all right, you got the contract. You're the big swinging dicks. Time to be big swinging dicks. Go out there and do it. And it'll be interesting how they use them down the stretch. I don't think they'll have any options. I think they're going to have to go full tilt till the probably last 2 to 3 games, trying to get that Atlantic Division in the back of their pocket.
This was a massive pat in the ass for this organization. Given what Austin Matthews had to say a couple short days ago about the deadline, how they wanted a boost, how do you not feel good if you're that team right now? Obviously getting these type of players into the mix here. By the way, there's 787 people concurrently watching right now. We really appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button here on Leafs Afternoon Take. Trade deadline special breaking down the trade deadline for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and a big one at that. In the final couple hours, they acquire Scott Laughton from the Philadelphia Flyers and then Brandon Carlo from the Boston Bruins. I never would have thought in my wildest dreams the Leafs and Bees would get together in a deal again, man. Ever since the Kessel one, I'm like, shit.
How pumped do you think Kyle Dubas is to be reunited with Timmins and Duarte?
Oh, just jacked.
It makes sense. You see it on paper. I mean, the Bruins are happy. They're obviously selling Fraser Minton in a first rounder. You'll take it, right? I mean, you're not winning anything in any point in time in the like you're rebuilding. That's nice for them. Carlo's what we needed and then some. And who gives a shit about the Penguins and Kyle Dubas? So that retention is nice as well. I honestly think Tree Living did well. And like talk about the last half hour it comes down to, or last hour, I guess, is pretty impressive. And that's why you got to wait at the deadline. And people were thinking Tree can't do this shit. He gave him exactly what everybody wanted. And I'm going to go through. I got to drive to Banff here for a hockey tournament. I'm going to be on Twitter seeing, and I hope I'm not shocked at how much negativity there is around this deadline deal. You can't make everyone happy, obviously, but this is pretty hard to argue with, if you ask me.
Fair enough. How much time do you got left, by the way? Just ask you on air.
I don't know. 10
minutes or so. Okay. I want to wait
15.
till we find out if there's retention in this deal, but we really haven't got word that the Leafs are done completely yet. Like there hasn't been that tweet either.
What else did they have? Like throw some fourth and third and second rounders around for fucking, I don't know what, man. Why don't we talk about the lineup a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
What, where do you see Kelly Yarncroke?
Kelly Yarncroke. So I wrote it to you guys earlier on. I think this is my opinion. Nyes, Matthews, Marner. I think Pacioretty will start game one with John Tavares and Willie Nylander, but that's interchangeable. Bob McMahon could be in that position. Like back to the conversation for earlier on, I think there's going to be some guys that are in the mix to be like healthy scratches or play in the middle six, we'll call it. Robertson, Pacioretty, guys like that.
Holmberg.
So Yarncroke, Holmberg, exactly. There's just so many moving pieces. They got a lot of bodies. But my fourth line, I think you got a combo Domi and Laughton, or McMahon and Laughton together. Like that's got to be a two-piece. But it gives them options.
Line or third?
For the third line.
Who's the center on third line?
Third line, Scott Laughton.
Yeah, okay. I thought you said
so. Fourth line, we're looking at like Lorenz, Kampf, and Yarncroke.
Where's Domi go? Like interchangeable
McMahon,
on the left side with Holmberg?
Yeah. That's why there's options now. Like even Domi as the fourth line winger with Kampf. Like doesn't mean Lorenz has to play.
And Yarny could be interchangeable with Robertson on the third line.
Exactly.
Like I like the way Robertson works, man. Like just being a hound dog and like I know he doesn't accomplish a lot sometimes, but there has been a lot of chemistry with, Domi and on that third line. Laughton, you might disrupt that, but obviously makes it better. Where does McMahon go? Like McMahon, Holmberg could be. Are they willing to scratch Holmberg? It's so interesting to see. I like what you said though. The middle six, like you could either be in the third line or you're scratched kind of thing, right? You don't necessarily have to slide down and disrupt. Like it's funny how Lorenz is just a mainstay. Hey, like no one's even mentioned him do anything but be planted on that left side fourth line.
Yeah, I mean it comes down to fit and roll too, right? Like
yes, it does.
That's the thing. Like it's just again, it's better to have too many bodies, I think. And it seems like they do right now. Maybe there's some other roster moves to make here, but you can have a shit ton of guys if you want. But like, I don't mind the idea of having guys like play for position in the playoffs. You have a shit game, you sit next guy up. Like, I love the motivation factor come the playoffs time.
Me too. And what I really want when that happens though is, and it doesn't always happen, but someone to rise to the top and take the job and make it easy on the powers that be to say, yep, Pacioretty, you have established yourself as being worthy of that second line left wing. I love the way you work with Johnny and Willie. You're the dude. That means McMahon is on that left side. Now, who's playing on the right? Is it Has Robertson earned it? Has Domi found a place to play? Is Yarncroke stepped up and takes Robertson's job on the right side on the third line? Like, somebody step up and make it obvious. That's the ticket. What I don't want to do is still have questions of the lineup and the combinations going into game one of the playoffs. I hate that, where it's like, well, let's try this. Let's try that. Remember this? Let's try that again. I hate that. I love the competition. It can go on, but last 5, 6, 7 games of the year, I want to see some concrete evidence that this is our best lineup. We know that. There's proof of it. And here's what we're doing to, do some final tweaking touches on where our head's at before the playoffs. And then night before game one, everyone's ready and knows exactly what's happening.
Definitely. So a lot to take in for this Maple Leafs roster. We're already talking about potential deployment for the Stanley Cup playoffs, which I mean is really exciting. There's 20 games remaining in this season, so it is put up or shut up time. I think we can both agree that is the theme following a busy trade deadline for Brad Treliving, who I agree deserves credit for stepping up. I don't know if you want to call this all in, Rosie, but it's very close. They traded 2 prospects today, Nikita Grabenkin, Fraser Minton. They traded 2 first-round picks, 27, 26, and they positioned themselves to be a legit contender. But ultimately, getting back to the root of the conversation, step up Matthews, step up Marner, step up Nylander, JT, Morgan Riley. Like, those are going to have to be the guys, but they've insulated them very well today, I think.
I don't see how you could make the surrounding pieces too much better. So I mean, look at the Edmonton Oilers last year. You've got like drastically overpaid D-man. Your goalies have been notoriously shaky, and they get to game 7 of the finals. Like, the Leafs now, I don't know if they've ever been in a better place. Goaltending, defense, superstar, and now depth. Is it perfect? Do you want to rip Domi apart and make fun of Holmberg? Go ahead. Like, fuck, be a dick. But this is as deep as it gets. We've got the superstars. We know what Willie's capable of. We know what Matthews is capable of. I worry about his health a little bit. And Marner as well. We know what he's capable of. Can you do it in the goddamn playoffs now? But I don't think there's been, like, if people get on me for being positive and excited, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? You're just a glass is half empty type of person, I guess, because I think they're as set up to do well as they have been in a long time. And I hope that they find lightning in a bottle. I hope there's chemistry. I hope things line up the way we hope they do. But a move in the right direction. You cannot blame Treliving. You cannot say that they didn't do everything they could to make this team as deep as possible and help out those superstars. I think it's the best the team's looked in a long time, man.
So you see, Rosie, there was some hesitancy on your end to maybe do this 2-hour show, and we were just fed content. The first 40 minutes, I was like, oh crap, here we go. But turned out to be a slobber knocker, didn't it?
Seriously, I don't really want to get off necessarily. I want to go dig deep into Leafs Nation, though. I'm excited for that. See what people are saying. Throw some twitty tweets out there. Man, I didn't expect them to drop that, and Carlo is just a total left field thing for me. Didn't even have him on a radar whatsoever. Big time sellers, Boston Bruins. We didn't even know if they could do business together, the Bruins and the Leafs, and clearly they could. Excited for the future here, man. Can't wait till Lots gets into town. Things get settled. Carlo, is he going to play with Riley? Interesting stuff, man. I'm pumped. We got lots of good things. I was worried they weren't going to be able to do anything or not justify it. And I was going to take a little bit of a turn to negative town saying, how can I get excited when clearly the brain trust of this organization doesn't even really believe in them after all they've seen. That's not the case, and I'm happy about it.
Craig Berube at practice a couple minutes ago says Tanev is doubtful to play tomorrow. When asked if Laughton and Carlo would be in the lineup, if they could make it to Denver in time for tomorrow, 100%. So we'll see if they make their debuts, and that should be an awesome game. Toronto and Colorado, Brock Nelson, Charlie Coyle in the mix now for the Boston Bruins, and of course Carlo now Maple Leaf, and Scott Laughton of Oakville, Ontario. Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Every face-off, hat trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app today and use the code NATION. That's NATION, NATION, to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. So thank you to producer Vic. Gave us the futures updates. The Stars at plus 550 to win the Cup. Panthers plus 550. The Leafs at plus 1100. What are you thinking, Rosie?
On the futures for the Stanley Cup?
Yes. You all in on the Leafs now or what?
I think they've got as good a chance as any, man. I wish the Cats just didn't look as heavy as they do. Fine. No, what's the line on the Washington Capitals? Like, I'm surprised that no one quite believes they've got a heavy lead in that division. They've won before. The leadership, goaltending, fucking interesting, man. Just time to see the Leafs come out of that division, man. Watch them just run into a bus on the Metro and run into, the Caps doing whatever they've been doing this year. They're well coached with Carberry and seem to have something, man. They are rattling off points at an outrageous rate. I would love to see an Eastern Conference final and just roll the dice, see what you got, man. Like, throw caution to the wind, unload the tanks, everybody on board. Let's see what we can fucking do. I think Chief's the guy to have back there. Again, the goaltending and D are shored up. The big boys want to be the big boys. There's a reason they have their contracts, and there's a reason they're the names that they are. Be those guys at the right times, and they have a hell of a good chance, as good as any.
All right, Rosie, we'll leave it at that. Again, the Leaf Station After Dark tomorrow night. Make sure to check that out. We'll be at Flight Night as well at Greta, but Zach will come back, do the show. Leafs in Colorado. That should be a really, really good matchup on a Saturday night. We're getting closer to the Nation vacation. NationGear.ca if you want to book your spot on the Nation vacation to Nashville, happening March 20th to 23rd. Great job today. We'll reconvene on Monday, my man.
Our first 2+ hour show. I was a little bit concerned, but none concerns needed, man. That was easy and fun. And obviously, we had some breaking news to pop things off. That's exciting, man. I'm glad they did something. It makes it fun, in a good place. Don't like Brad Marchand, but can't wait to see what's down the barrel here, man. 20 games or so left.
Buddy, I'm excited. I got that feel. I'm feeling excited about this team. Love the
I love your
additions.
positivity. I read off of you, and a lot of times you have you've not had a whole lot to say as far as.
Well, man, I just look at the composition at this roster. I love the goaltending right now. I know Woolsey's going through a tough stretch, but like Stoley's been unbelievable. The blue line has been fortified. Like, this is not Kyle Dubas's blue line anymore. They're big, they're mean, they're strong. They can move the puck. I love the fit as well. Morgan Riley has been dying for a partner. Maybe it doesn't work out, but you've put him in a good position to succeed with Brandon Carlo. Up front, you got that 3C with Scott Lawton, kills penalties, very versatile, and they still have the star. They have the star power. I mean, they got Matthews, they got Marner, they got Nylander, they got Tavares. This is really on the players right now. I don't really know what else this Leafs team, this GM, could have done to better this roster. They have set them up for success, and the proof will now be in the pudding, is the way I read it.
Yeah, if you were in a coma for a year and you wake up and you're like, McCabe, Tanev, and I mean, keep in mind what McCabe's contract looks like. McCabe, Tanev, Riley, Carlo, OEL. Like, that's lots of names, lots of diversity back there as far as guys that can bang, guys that can crunch minutes, guys that have a playoff mentality, guys that can be on the power play, guys that can heat up offensively, guys that can move the puck. It's nice. Matthew Nyes with Pappy and Marner, and you still have like Patches or McMahon, Tavares, and Willie Laughton down that middle side, a step below on that third line potentially. Who wants to step up and play big boy hockey and earn one of the jobs around those guys? There's competition for it now, and I hope someone pops off. I don't give a rip who it is. Maybe it's Domi, maybe it's Robertson. And I mean, I'm not saying move the needle, but just does his job and then some, and has a bit of snarl and is effective. You notice them out there. Who was that that just flashed across the screen, forechecking like a bastard? Like, if anyone's up for it, they're looking to see who's going to fill these spots. And I'm excited to see how it goes. Like you said, man, it's as good of a place as they've been in fucking, like, what do you think they were better in 2020? Like, I don't. This is as good
Yeah.
as I've seen in a long time.
Feeling good. We'll see how they do starting Saturday. I want to see a response after the Vegas game, and I think we'll have it. Getting back to the whole Bet365 segment, I expect a bounce back for the Maple Leafs. I think they'll win that game. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you to everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube. On your way out, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're also available in podcast form. Just search Leafs Nation wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Also, don't forget to visit the LeafsNation.com. The fine folks over there have been all over deadline day, so make sure you go check that out. Thank you to producer Vic, Zack Phillips, for dropping by as well. You, the chat, were phenomenal. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk on Monday. Take care. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.